We are live on Twitch. I'm gonna pop out the chat. All right, finally. Get my notes. Also, my neck air conditioner that I literally just got and used once, not working. Luckily, it's a little bit cooler of a day because we had rain yesterday and last night, and I have a floor fan that I am standing on, or well, over, so that I get cool air blown up. Like Marilyn Monroe over here. My skirt is just like, my dress, whatever. I can't. So we're gonna see what happens today. I'm charging this little guy, maybe that, but it has a, either way, and my glasses are off. No pushing sweaty glasses up my nose. This has been really fun the last few days. Today is also awesome. But first things first, welcome to the Midnight Diner, chapter 007, where we drink shaken not stirred midnight martinis with dragons and street lamps and electric angels. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I have a promo for this this episode, which is a story. I'm going to get into all this stuff, but like I said, first things first is welcome into the Midnight Diner, episode 7. I'm Dread Pirate KK. I have a new little hairstyle. We got some shaved sides going on. I decided to do a little bit of a more conservative, like, let me get used to having shaved parts of my head. And then, like, the next day, I was like, I already want more. I was like, oh, I'm already used to it. I need more. I should have done the whole, like, side, whatever. But I'm going to take it one step at a time. Because also I feel like there's part of me that still has an attachment to the way I'm perceived externally. And so I'm like, okay, I also want to give other people a chance to be like, slowly getting used to whatever electric style I'm coming up with. Because again, my hair, I'm like, every time I look at it, I'm like, okay, not quite. We're getting there. There's something I need to see about my we're all personalizing our avatars. So you got to feel at home in your home. So I'm figuring out what that even looks like for me. And I think a lot of us are doing that. But hairstyles for me, I love long hair. I used to have long hair, and I love what you can do with it, and I love putting it up in a little messy bun or ponytail or whatever, but the sensory issues when I shed long hair, so I've had to keep it short because it just is better for my mental health, but I do miss having whatever, so we'll see what happens, but I'm pretty sure we're going to go full pirate at whatever point, whatever that even means, so yeah, the energy, I was obviously started late streaming again today, and I have just given up the past few days. I've really just, we're coming up on a Mercury retrograde. I don't know, is that next week? Whenever it is, I think it's next week, maybe. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I can look it up, but I'm not going to because it's going to happen when it happens. And either way, we're in the pre-shadow period. And what that just means, for anyone who isn't familiar with astrology terms, there's the retrograde period. So Mercury goes retrograde about every 3 months. It's the fastest moving planet. And so it's doing a lot, like going forward, going back. We're going to review things. And so there's a retrograde period of about 3 weeks. And it's like, imagine it like on an astrological wheel. It's like this amount of space it's taking up during its retrograde period. So in the pre-shadow, it's still moving, the planet's still moving forward through the degrees or the sign or whatever that it's going to be doing the retrograde in. So that's the pre-shadow because it hasn't gone retrograde yet, but it will. And so it's like in between. So once it gets to this point, it's going to turn around. Well, it looks like it's going to turn around and go back to this point where it turns around and comes back again. So this 3-week period is the actual retrograde, but as it goes forward and backward over that retrograde space, that's known as the pre-shadow, and then the post-shadow when it stations direct and moves forward again. that might be too much information, but I like to provide a lot of information. So again, with this holographic learning, just let things wash over you if you don't understand it right away. And as we talk about the same things over and over or whatever, you'll start to, it sinks in and just kind of, so don't worry if you don't understand everything I'm saying, because you will, but I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going because we got shit to talk about. Also, I was really just not sure if I was even going to make the stream today. I'm just not, like I said, it's been a rough few days. This full moon, so today is the 13th, my divine feminine number. I was gonna, I was a little bit sad that I wasn't streaming last week, but also I needed a massive rest the past week or so. And when I saw that today, when I was looking last week and I was like, when do I stream? Like, when does it feel right? When am I guided? It's like, I saw that today was the 13th and I was like, oh, that's my stream day. so I felt a little bit less guilty for taking off last week, even though he was like, I usually do it every other Sunday. And then here we are 3 weeks later, but it's fine. Like I said, we just kind of get the intuitive hits or we figure it out as we go. And that's that on that. So yes, it's the 13th. The Capricorn new moon was on the 10th. This is the month of July. I have no idea when I'm going to be able to post this motherfucker on. I still don't have, I finally got episode 5 uploaded to YouTube. And I'm almost done. I've got episode 6 edited. I just need to upload it and figure out the description and, get the timestamps and shit. But that'll be easy. I just need to do it and then whatever. So I don't know why I'm telling you all this stuff, just going into details. Oh, like I said, I love giving details. I'm just I have a Virgo stellium and Mercury in the first house. And Virgo, again, for people who don't know, Virgo is ruled by Mercury. And then, so I have a big exclamation point of Mercury energy and Mercury is the planet of communication and data processing and technology, our minds basically. And a bunch of other stuff. Mercury represents a whole bunch of things, but that's why when Mercury goes retrograde, it's communication issues and tech issues are happening because it's just and it takes extra, Mercury also rules cars, driving, so it's that's why we astrologers recommend building in extra time to get places during Mercury retrograde or to give yourself and other people a lot of grace when it comes to communication, because a lot of times there's a lot of fights that happen during Mercury retrogrades, couples or friends or it's a lot of fights happening because there's just miscommunication in the air, and it's kind of it's going to happen the way it happens, and probably these fights are happening to kind of trigger things to solve issues that maybe have been buried under the rug or whatever. There's always a reason for it, but also when you're aware of the energies of these transits and you're like, why am I having so many miscommunications or fights or this? It's that's in the nature of the energy. And if you just kind of, again, take a beat, retrograde is we're going a little bit slower. We're going to the underworld, kind of just reviewing everything that happened and, reviewing the way we communicate and kind of reassessing. Maybe we talk like this normally and we think it's fine, but maybe we can refine, again, adding RE to a lot of words for any retrograde periods, refining, reassessing, reevaluating, kind of reevaluating the way you communicate maybe. But it's not always, again, Mercury goes retrograde every 3 months. So it's kind of you're not going to be reviewing all these things, but it's also during retrograde season, people like to talk about how things come back around, including exes or friends from the past or whatever, because it's just those energies coming through to review what you've been doing and the themes they represent and all kinds of stuff. Oh my gosh, where's my water? Gotta stay hydrated, people. Whew. I have not had a lot of water today yet. Like I said, it's a little rough. Mercury retrograde, Capricorn full moon. Yeah, the Capricorn full moon. I was pushed into a lot of rest over there's energy doesn't have hard borders. So the full moon, yes, it happened on the 10th, but leading up to it, 3 days before, 3 days after is kind of the exclamation point of energy, when it's at its strongest, but you can be feeling these things. It's a lunation. So it's 2 weeks, you get the full moon and then it wanes to the new moon, all the cycles. So anyway, I've been really shoved into a period of rest over this full moon in a way that I had, like, I'd still been resting before, which we're going to get into because I have this whole thing of like why I've been needing to rest for a while. But I was thinking that I had been shoved, and a lot of people, because I've been talking to some of my friends, we all been feeling like so exhausted, and like I'm taking naps before lunch, and like what is going on? Like, you know, we're all kind of like, what is happening? And I was thinking, it just kind of hit me. I was like, oh, Capricorn is sort of the sign in the zodiac that it's known for like workaholic. Like you're going to just be, you're always working on something. You're always, you know, you're the goat, man. You're going to like do when you work, it's like craftsmanship. So just let a Capricorn do its thing. It's going to be amazing. Just don't get in their way. But they love projects. And they always want to be working on something. This is the stereotype and like whatever. So, and it's also kind of associated with capitalism. It is not capitalism, but it's associated with capitalism because that's the societal agreement we have right now about how our economy works and how society operates and that kind of thing. But Capricorn is like socially agreed upon structures like economies and that kind of thing. So capitalism is, you know, right now it's associated with Capricorn. And so we're detoxing a lot from that toxic masculine do energies and, you know, receiving, resting, all that kind of stuff. Also, again, sorry, I may have I may flail a lot during this this stream because Mercury, I feel the Mercury retrograde's pretty, sometimes kind of a lot. I usually feel the shadow periods more, but like I'm not writing a story about it. I'm just gonna like maybe everything's fine and I just needed to rest this Capricorn full moon. So yeah, and also Capricorn, it's not that they don't have feelings. They have very, you know, they have a lot of emotions and feelings, whatever, but they're like, let's repress because there's a job to do. So the Capricorn full moon was like, not only are you going to feel all those things, you're going to rest and not do anything while you feel that. So you have to like really be present with a lot of this stuff. And so I have been triggered, irritation, rage. I've been throwing tantrums and not even enjoying them. That's how awful this energy is. Like, come on, you know I love my tantrums. And I was just like screaming and shit, and it was not satisfying. And I was like, all right, fine. I guess I'll just. That's how I've been for the past few days. Partly because I've been trying to fucking work on this promo for the stream. And so what happens with these streams is I make these promos, and they've gotten more elaborate as I've gone, which is hilarious because I've only had 7 episodes. So the fact that I'm like already at this place where I'm making 5.5-minute movies out of a promo for this stream. I started with photos, and the first photo I had, I think it was just like I didn't even have music for the first couple photos. I was just like, here's some text about what we're doing or whatever, and I would pose in some sort of whatever. And then the third and fourth and fifth ones, I had music to the photos, and it's like, oh, I kind of like, and it happened accidentally. Because when I posted my third one to TikTok, I didn't realize that if you post a photo, TikTok the AI will pick music for the thing. And I was like, oh, and it happened to pick out a really cool one. And I was like, oh, let me see. So I checked some other things. And I was like, oh, but I found a song I like better. So I was like, okay, we're going to do that. And then it picked out one for the following stream. And I was like, dang, I did it pretty. So anyway, then I picked out my own for episode 5. I was like, oh, I'm going to go shopping for like, what are the vibes? And that was like the Outlaw with like the Be Gay Do Crimes one was number 5. And I was like, ooh, Bon Jovi, the Dead or Alive. I was like, oh yeah, that's going to be, and it was perfect. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. And so then for 6, which was the Bog Witch one, I did actual, like, it was less than a minute. I think it was like 53 seconds or something. And it was just like less than a minute of like me filming the pond, and then myself. And I was like, and I picked out again, I had the perfect, I was like, oh, I could feel it in my brain. I was like, okay, it's going to have thunder. It was like thunderstruck, like ACD. It's like, that has to be. And so it worked out. And I had a whole lot of fun making that one. So anyway, for number 7, I had this vague, I never really know what I'm going to do when I do these promos. I'm like, I'm just going to film some footage. The story will come to me as it comes to me. You know, I don't really know. So I just kind of film shit and just, I'm really good at editing. Again, that Virgo stellium is 3 or more planets in a sign, just in case. But anyway, if it's Virgo stellium, I'm very good at editing. Like, let me just cut away the fluff, and like I can shape it's like, I don't know if it was Michelangelo or, you know, Da Vinci, somebody, one of those famous artists, they were talking about, I guess it was Da Vinci. Anyway, the chipping away at the stone they used for like their sculptures, and it was like they were talking about it in a way, they were like, we were just getting what doesn't need to be there out of it. It was like the shape was there, they just had to kind of chip away at the stuff that didn't belong, and that's how the sculpture came to life. And that's how I feel about like my audio files, my videos, or my stories. I'm like, I can feel the shape, and as I put stuff in the little, you know, the editing software piece, I'm like, okay, I just whittle away. But this one was just absolutely infuriated. Like, the whole thing was so, and I have a pretty high tolerance for trickster energy these days, because like I understand being redirected or misdirected, or, you know, whatever, to kind of, in the name of your highest good, and like the project is going to be amazing because like this went wrong, but like because it went wrong, you have amazing footage, you know, for the story that you're supposed to be telling, kind of stuff. So I already kind of have that, but like I think I worked on this promo parts of like 5 or even 6 days. At this point, I've kind of lost track because I kept having tech issues, or I also just need better video editing software, because what I'm doing now is I have pieces. I use partially Riverside, the platform, the streaming platform that I go live on with the stream that I'm on right now, and also Sultry Circus. And they have video editing software built in. You have to have an internet connection because you can't download it. So you have to always be connected to the internet. And they don't do other things. Like, they don't allow transitions in between cuts. And there's a couple other things. They don't have a lot of the fonts. Some of the fonts I really like are only on TikTok. And anyway, so like I'm filming on my phone, and then I'll upload into Riverside, and then I do some things there, but then I need to re-download it onto my computer, put it onto my drive so I can download it on my phone, upload it to TikTok, and then do some more stuff. So it's not a great, it's not a great system that I have. So I obviously need to find, you know, a better software that I can actually use. And that's part of what this Saturn retrograde is probably asking me to do, because Saturn stationed retrograde, I think 2 days after the full moon. So maybe yesterday, I guess, maybe the 12th. I think that's when he stationed retrograde. And so right now he's in Aries, and he's going to be moving back into Pisces on top of my moon again. Yay. I need to explain what that even means, but we'll do that maybe later. Or maybe I already have. Oh yeah, the Sati Sati, I think. Or did I maybe talked about it with like the dream I had, the last stream I had, where I was like, I had a dream about being all in my feels and dramatic about my Sati Sati. And the Sati Sati is a Vedic astrology term. So I study Hellenistic astrology. I want to get into Vedic astrology, so we're going to be doing that as soon as I find a teacher and have money for a class and all kinds of stuff. But anyway, I know a few things about Vedic here and there from like other astrologers. So the Sati Sati, it's when Saturn, it's about a 7-year-ish period of time when Saturn transits the sign before your moon, the sign of your moon, and then the sign after. And it's the strongest, you feel it the strongest when Saturn is in the sign of your moon. Obviously, even stronger when it's on top of your moon. It's just like the energies are a real exclamation point. And then it kind of, you fade out of it as he moves through the sign after your moon. And Saturn spends about 2.5 to 3 years in a sign. So that's why it takes a long time to go through this transit. And it's really just kind of like, it's usually financial in nature, but really, you know, Saturn transiting your moon, Saturn is like restriction, limitation, you know, that kind of stuff. And when it goes on top of your moon is like, you know, how your emotions, like how you feel safe internally, you know, and it's usually Saturn taking away the things that make you feel safe. And it's usually money related, because we all, you know, but it can be other things too. And so that's what I've been going through, because my moon is in Pisces. And so Saturn has been in Aquarius and then Pisces, and now it's in Aries, but it's moving back into Pisces, and I'm just like, oh my God. But I don't have to write a story about it because, again, and by what I mean by writing a story about it is getting attached to like a narrative that like, oh my God, it's going to be terrible because Saturn's on my moon. But it doesn't have to be terrible. Like I can release that story because I know that really all it's doing is showing me where I have abundance in other places or where I can find safety in other places. Like usually yourself, because there's no external saviors or whatever. But so I know all of this stuff by now. So I'm just like, the more you relax into it and just allow the container, the Saturn container, to be a container, you're going to come out feeling great or whatever. And I already feel a lot better, like I said, with the dream, and I was like, who's going to help me through my sati? And my ex-housemate was like, I will. And I was like, I know it's not her because we don't speak anymore, but I was like, what does she represent? And it was like my creativity and my artistic stuff and all kinds of stuff. And I was like, and that's actually what is happening. Like I'm out in nature, creative with the garden, like I'm hands in the dirt, like this, I'm creating my life. My life is art kind of thing. And then also I'm doing these streams and these promos and like discovering that I can fucking do video editing and make movies and stuff. And so anyway, this promo was... It's always fun to do these things because I discover, I'm like, dang, I can do that shit. Like it's mind blowing how I blow my own mind with like how amazing I am and feel and stuff. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot to get the chat out. I'm so sorry. Somebody already texted the chat. I don't know when you texted that, but it was probably a while ago, and I apologize. Hello and welcome to the Midnight Diner. I'm so sorry. What is the difference between esoteric knowledge and deeply spiritual? I kind of feel like they're all related, to be honest. Because esoteric knowledge is kind of the stuff that's tied to that deeper spiritual experience of existence. And I don't know if that's like, I kind of chew on this stuff, so I'm not really sure if I'm going to stick with this answer or what, but I right now what it feels, yeah, it feels true to me. I could change my mind, but esoteric is just kind of like that hidden, deep, ancient knowledge of like universal truths and like, the mysteries of life and all kinds of stuff. Oh, yay. You're still here and you're waiting for an answer. Sorry again. I now have the chat out and I will see. From where you are streaming, is this a school building? No, it's actually it's just a sort of a storage room, I guess. But there are some weird supplies in it. It's like an empty, my friend is not using, it's like the second story of her building and she's not using this second floor. And so I'm able to, because I don't have good internet at my house. And so I need to come here into town because I live in the boonies in the farm district. Anyway, so yes, I have good internet here and just no air conditioning or anything. But yeah, it's just and I have my little crow and my little Deep Space Nine. I showed that at the first episode, but I can show that. Just having my little trinkets around. It feels like my little, I think this was actually more of a box office. I don't know if you can, it just kind of feels like that area was performance area. And then this is where you could put your coats and have the ticket. I don't know what it is. I just am hanging out. So anyway, esoteric and spiritual, I think they're all tied together. And it's like magic and shit and like astrology and the temples and not religion like Sky Daddy with the beard judging like actual spiritual stuff like rituals and that's the thing about a lot of the stuff. It just kind of boils down to like there is magic in the mundane, everyday life stuff. It is like a ritual can be washing your dishes, and that's one of the things that turned my whole viewpoint around on like doing dishes and things I didn't want to do. I would get frustrated, and so we're like, you know what, I'm just going to turn on music and make it a dishwashing party. And so I would just have really good vibes while I was doing it. And like now those kinds of practices have helped me sink down into being fully present in my life, and like literally everything is magic. And like I am filming everyday shit that I do, creating artwork out of it, like promos for the stream or whatever, and it's like it's amazing. So yeah, I think that kind of, I think that's all. We'll maybe go back into that a little bit more as we go, but I want to kind of go back into making this fucking promo and just like getting the story out, because I'm keeping myself on track a little bit, where it's just been a little bit annoying to fix this because I had a lot of tech issues, and so I would run into things like limitation as an oracle. Like if you run into roadblocks and you keep trying something, it's like, well, maybe it's telling you the reason you can't move forward, or you're limited in some ways because you're supposed to do something else entirely, or it's not time for that yet, or whatever. And so I was using limitation as an oracle, and I was like, okay, if I'm having tech issues, I'm supposed to rest instead. And I don't get as uptight about timing as I used to, but I still get a little anxious about, I'm just like an anxiety ridden person for most of my life. And so I get a little anxious about getting my product ready to go before, because I know I want to post these promos before my stream, and if I'm streaming on Sunday, I need to fucking post it before Sunday, and I want to get it up at least 24 hours in advance. I was aiming for more like 3 days at this point, because I was like, I knew this promo was going to be a little bit longer. None of that happened. I got it up at like midnight last night, so I knew that like divine timing, I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to rest. I'm not supposed to get this done, but I was still anxious because I really wanted to have the freaking product and like take my time on it and work on it and this, and it was just like beyond frustrating. And so anyway, long story short, I worked on it for a few days here and there, bits and pieces. None of it was, every time I would export something and like read. I'm just saying, the amount of steps and the amount of trickster shit and the amount of like just bullshits, I reached my max with my tolerance on the trickster shit, and I just was like, I can't. And again, I was throwing tantrums and it wasn't satisfying. I don't know what this energy is, but it's just like, I don't know. So anyway, I finally got the fucker done last night, and as I was uploading it to TikTok, it was like I saw that the last time I had gone in, somehow a text box had been moved and it was like throwing off the timing. I was like, I can't do this again. I'm just posting it. I don't care. So there's a lot of, I don't know about a lot, but there's definitely some imperfections that my Virgo stellium is like, we could fix it. I'm not fixing it. I can't. I got to let go. And that again, and Capricorn is kind of the same way, because earth signs in general, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, they're kind of, they all have the same sort of energy with like, they do the hard work to get the resources to build the foundation, to have a life that they want and a good foundation and a good, whatever. I can't even talk right now, but you know what I mean? So they have similar themes to those earth signs. And so Virgo and Capricorn, I feel really tied into Capricorn is empty in my chart, but I think Virgo makes up for it. It's like, here you're going to do all the things all yourself. You're going to be the filmer, whatever. You're going to be the actor and the person who films and the producer and the person who edits and you're doing all the things. And that's a very earth sign. We're just going to do everything ourselves. It's easier. And we're good at everything, but also you can delegate shit. So I don't know what the fuck this Capricorn full moon was telling me, other than like, you got to let go of perfectionism, which we're already working on that anyway with the nodal axis. The lunar nodes are in Pisces and Virgo, and we're kind of like letting go of perfectionism and self-criticism and whatever to kind of go with the flow of the universe. And so I just got an exclamation point of that. Also, I think Mars is now in Virgo, and it's kind of, I don't know if it's conjunct the South Node, which is in Virgo, or if it's coming up close to that. But either way, Mars is the planet of action. And so it's like taking action on letting go of that perfectionism or whatever, it's like, ooh. So I was feeling a lot of that this full moon, but I got the fucker posted, and I knew this was going to happen. I was like, please don't let this happen, but I kind of feel like it's going to happen. The music clip that I had chosen for my promo was too long. And so TikTok muted it. And I was like, fucking shit. So I just deleted it. I was like, it doesn't work without the music. Fuck you, whatever. I'm just not going to have anyone at my stream, I guess. I don't know, whatever. I know this promo exists, and I'm going to send it to my friends, and they're going to love it because they love me. And like, also I do a really good job. So it's not entirely like blowing smoke up my ass. It's like actually good stuff. But still, I'm only going to show it to the people that I can send the link to in the Google Drive or whatever. And someday I will have a whole gallery of all my promos and all the cool shit that I've made, and it's just gonna have to be fine. I did post it on Instagram too, but like, and I think it's still up there, like they didn't mute it, so I'm gonna leave it and we'll see what happens. But also, god damn, I'm so sick of this system. I'm so sick of the technology that doesn't work. I just need, that's the thing. I was gonna say, I forget what I was going to say, actually, but like what popped into my head was I hadn't finished the thought about Saturn retrograde making me review a lot of this new chapter stuff that I've been doing. And so I don't know if anyone else is feeling this, probably, because that's the energy we're in. But Saturn is kind of whatever we started back in like April-ish, that was kind of the preview of the energies that we're going to be really diving into in 2026, like February-ish. It'll be like all systems go kind of with the new chapter stuff. But we did have a preview of that. And that's when I started the Midnight Diner school. I did, so I'm not surprised that I'm reviewing things. Like I need better video editing software, something that is actually, so I need to, Saturn is like, what is, and the Capricorn full moon too, it was like, what are you not going to give up on? What are you going to just put all your energy into, even if there are roadblocks and all kinds of shit? Like, and I was proving to myself, I'm like, I am here for the Midnight Diner. Like, I want to make good shit, but also I had to go with the flow of the universe and, oh gosh, post an imperfect promo. But there's perfection in the imperfections. Like, it's good to just put things out there and show people, like, you got to walk the talk. Like, if I'm telling people to let go of perfectionism, and yet here I am just like, and I put too much effort into, and by too much I mean like burning myself out effort into making things perfect, because I could have gone back and I could have done all those things. It's just it was not worth it. Like I needed to just fucking take a chill pill, and so I did, and that was much better for my mental health. But I've just been so frustrated, just so frustrated. And so the Capricorn tendency to like bury the emotions and not feel them because we have a job to do or whatever, we'll feel them later kind of shit. It's like, you're gonna feel them now, actually. So that's what we've been doing. And I think a lot of the anger that I've been feeling, and a lot of like the screaming and tantrums that I've had to throw, I think I just didn't realize how much anger I had swallowed in my life. And I think a lot of women in particular can kind of, but also, in general, it's just because the divine feminine is rising. That's why I'm talking about women. So it's just like the feminine energy. We're all just kind of like, we don't care anymore. No. And so, but also coming with that, with the, with the rise of the feminine and like the flushing out of the toxic masculine, energy, we're flushing out toxic both, but like, we've been in a very masculine centered age, and like logic and reason, thinking, doing, proving our worth, that kind of thing. And the feminine is just like, we're worth the same, more, we're worth the same amount, even if you don't do anything, even if you're resting, like if you're a flower. I've been shown a lot of times, like when I get uptight about not doing enough for people who are doing things for me or whatever, it's like, every time the trees tell me, they're like, you're like an Indiana wildflower, you're beautiful. Like nobody gets mad at flowers for just being a flower. In fact, every time I have some snapdragons in my garden, and every time I go down to my garden, I'm just like, man, the flowers here just really elevate this shit to a whole new level. And they're not doing anything for me, it's just, and those are some of the messages that we're getting. It's like, you are allowed to just be. And so that was one of the things. So I was just like pushing and feeling, anyway, so a lot of anger, like having swallowed a lot of anger, and it's all coming out right now. So I think I had to just be triggered a lot in order to express that. Anything that you haven't been feeling, you can't run away from. And it's so funny. I think that's on my notes. One of the things I wanted to talk about, especially with like the split that's happening, the people who are still running from their shadows and not facing the things they need to take responsibility for, and the people who are, moving through it and accepting the parts of themselves that are just, that's how we're cleaning up our own side of the street, and it's spreading out to the collective, and we'll get there. But anyway, I was thinking about how my friend Ellen and I had talked about, we just don't like running, period. Like, I can't do it. I refuse to run in airports or any of that. I'm just like, no, I don't care if I miss my flight. I'm just gonna, well, not really, because I totally will run in that case, but like, I will, I don't want to do it. I will go out of my way to not have to fucking run somewhere. And I would joke with her. I'd be like, well, it's going to be on my tombstone. Like, if somebody comes for me, like, you know, a murderer or whatever, or the apocalypse or, you know, whatever, it's like, I don't care. I'm just going to sit here. I had a good run. Like, I'm not fucking running. I had a good run. I'm not going to run. You know what I mean? Whatever. And it's like, my tombstone is just going to say, she died doing what she loved, not running. And so I'm like, I'm not running. I feel like that. I just had to give up not running anymore from the shadows and the things, because I knew something, like when I started this awakening in 2020, I was just like, I knew, I was like, no matter what happens, I have to know, I have to change whatever this is that my life is, and all this stuff. It's like, it's not working anymore. And I know I have to do something. And that meant I had to stop fucking running from my shit and actually move back home. The place that I've been running from my whole life since I graduated college. It's like, I have moved every place to get away from here. And then after the awakening happened a couple of years later, it was like, you're actually going to come back to your ancestral hometown and do the rest of your clearing there, and then that's where you're going to build your legacy. And I was like, I'm sorry. What? So anyway, and I have died a bunch of times doing what I love, not running. There's so many deaths, so many whatever. And so there's still people out there who are trying to run from the things they need to heal, and it's just very, very obvious, very, very obvious. And so yeah, especially the split right now with the MAGA people and Trump letting them down. I mean, I mentioned this in my last stream anyway, but like, it's even more pronounced now with the Epstein list and all kinds of stuff. It's just like, it's just crumbling, like the whole thing. And people are finally starting to see, and there are people out there still who are like, yeah, he's playing like 586 dimensional chess and there's a blah, blah. I mean, okay, maybe. But also, how many times do you have, like, it's just becoming more cartoon villain shit. Like, he literally has to say, oh, I want to de-citizenshipize Rosie O'Donnell. What? Like, you guys, fascism, it's insane. And I'm not saying, he's also bringing in a lot of good shit. So, like I said, nobody's all good or all bad, so I'm not on either side. And if you still are on a side, what the fuck is wrong with you? But okay, keep doing your thing. Until the more you are attached to the stories and the more your identity is attached to these narratives and the things that are happening externally, like the government or religion or people pleasing in other ways, you know, that kind of thing, the harder you are going to feel this death. And so the more you can kind of zoom out and be like, I'm going to do my own thing, focus on what you can build, not what's actually falling apart. It's nice to watch the show or whatever. And that's not to say that you can't feel things, you know, it's like, I feel a lot about, I have a huge amount of empathy for everything that's happening, but also I know that is draining the energy I could be putting into building the new things that I know I'm here to build, like my school and the farm. And if you just keep focusing and feeling bad and like spinning out on the things that are happening externally, nobody wins. You know, you feel bad, the bad shit is still happening, and the good new shit isn't getting built. And so that's, I like to be soft and I like to be encouraging and whatever, but I also am just kind of like, we need to get to work. And I don't know, the Capricorn full moon, like, you know, working, it's like Capricorn will work a lot. It's like, okay, so find out what you want to work on and fucking start doing it. And the thing is, it's supposed to be fun too. Like, it's not, you know, I'm being a little salty right now because I've had some real triggering days. So I'm a little less, you know, little less sunshine and rainbows right now, but that's okay, because sometimes we need a kick in the ass to get going. And so if you need a kick in the ass, that is what I'm doing today. Tough love or whatever. But I also love you, and I know it's hard out there. It's like there's a lot of shit going on, but at the same time, we are programmed by our artists. So get to work programming the collective with your beautiful codes, you know? Like, and I'm not just like a whole, I don't only do, like, let's focus on the positive. You can't, that's bypassing shit. Yes, focus on the positive because that does help clear things and uplift you and like all kinds of stuff. But you got to honor the grief. You got to express the rage. You've got to cry the feelings that we've swallowed for years, decades, however old you are. You know, it's like we've been swallowing this shit and it's time to let it out so that it can be transmuted and we can be clear of the dense energies so that we can move with these lighter, faster energies that are hitting the planet. And it's only going to get more like that. It's only going to get less tolerant of density. And so all those denser emotions, you know, and that's the kind of thing that I'm trained for. Again, like I'm a priestess of the underworld. Like I know how to lead people through letting go of like the ego deaths and all the shit that they got to let go of to kind of step into their new chapters and write their new stories. It's like we don't have to live a miserable life. You don't have to be attached to these, you know, the old ways of being, the old patterns and stuff, and I can help people break that. So like it's not gonna, you don't cure 40 years of trauma overnight, you know, like you got to give yourself grace and figure out it's like fine. But also at a certain point, you got to look at where you're spending time in victim mentality and not moving forward on the things you know you could do just because it would be hard to sort of break the pattern that you're being asked to break or change the belief system that you have about yourself or the world or, you know, whatever. So I kind of, with a little bit of a I feel like I said this in my last stream or whatever a little bit, but like again with the retrograde energy, I'm just going to say it again because we revisit everything. So anyway, Saturn retrograde. We're revisiting the things that we started in March, April, basically April, and kind of like refining stuff about how we want to, because Saturn, when it moves direct again, it's going to be like, okay, all the things that you've been thinking about, put those into action and like we'll really kind of move forward. So, but Saturn in Aries is also like the established, like the legacy shit is going to be falling, you know, because the new blood is, and you don't have to be young to have this new blood. It's just like fresh ideas, fresh things that we're building, new leaders, people who actually have empathy and can like be a good example for what a leader should be, or like what an earth citizen should. That's a leader. Leaders don't have to have followers. They're just the first ones to do things. And so it's like, as we are the first in our families or communities or whatever, friend groups, you know, it's like if we're the first ones there to like start living the example we want to see in the world, you know, that you are the leader. Because I kept for the longest, like, leader is going to look completely different in this new chapter that we're moving into, which really starts in 2027. I mean, we started it already. We're kind of seeing the crumbling of the old guard and like the new people are kind of coming online and that kind of stuff. But Saturn in Aries is really going to give us more of that cartoon villain shit where it's like, how obvious does it have to be before you kind of are like, I need to either take action or change my belief or whatever it is. It's just going to be more ridiculous as the years go by until we withdraw our energy from the old systems entirely. And so it's getting pretty loud to a lot of people, and humanity is a big collective, so it's not like we're going to turn this boat around overnight, which is why it's taking the time it's taking. But I don't know. Like I said, I'm feeling a little bit shitty, salty. Rah! These energies are pissing me off. Oh, and I'm looking at my notes. I'm like, we need to be committing crimes. Yes. Do what you want. There are more of us than there are of them. And so that's why as we're building community, it's kind of like the people who you think or who you've been told are the enemy or whatever. That is a tactic to keep us divided so that we don't come together and take them down. I'm just saying, chew on some of this stuff, because the people you hate the most are part of your tribe, and you don't have to hang out with them all the time, but you have to see them as humans, as sparks of the human collective soul. Like, we, and so just because we disagree with each other, again, everything that we're supposed to be disagreeing on or fighting over, it's just a tactic so that we don't come together and fix this shit. But the critical mass has been reached, in my opinion. I don't think, like, we're good to go. There's a lot of shit that we're still seeing out there, but like, the more you take action on cleaning up your own side of the street, figuring out where you're still in victim mentality or deluding yourself about the things you think that you should be doing or whatever, it's like, just try something different, as scary as it is. Anyway, I feel like I'm really repeating myself, but that's okay. And it's, I do want to, because I'm also looking at my notes again. I do want to specify, though, that it's like, don't shame the parts of yourself or the versions of yourself that were in victim mentality or were very fearful or, made decisions out of fear, that, like that kind of thing. Like, that's not the point I'm trying to make. The point is that those versions of you were trying to keep you safe. It's like, this world doesn't make sense, so you have all these coping mechanisms to kind of like shield yourself from the assault of brainwashing and like whatever the fuck we've been dealing with. So hold yourself with a lot of compassion, because it's not easy to wake up from this insane nightmare scenario, but when you do, and it's just kind of like when you finally realize that you create your own reality and that you take responsibility for all the things that you're feeling and thinking and whatever, it's like having is evidence of wanting. So if you have something, you want it at a certain level, or you did, and maybe you don't anymore, but like you did at one point and it served your soul for whatever purpose. It's like, we're here on earth for soul growth. Everything we do as a soul is to expand and evolve into more knowledgeable, whatever versions of ourselves. Like, we're gathering data points and we're telling stories. And anyway, telling stories brings me back to the promo, because the promo that I was filming, and I may try to put this, I don't know if I can put, like, when I put this whole stream up on YouTube, I was thinking about putting the promo like at the end, and I may still do that, but like, if TikTok muted it, I don't know if YouTube, because the music clip is like, I don't know, almost 2 minutes long, maybe like a minute 45. Anyway, it's apparently over a minute is like too much. I don't know. So I don't want to get my whole video struck down for like copyright or whatever, but maybe I should just try it, and like, who cares? Anyway, the promo was me, basically the Guardian is my street lamp. I live in the boonies on a farm, and one of the perks of living in the boonies is you get your own street lamp. I mean, you don't always have to, but a lot of the farms around me, we all have street lamps, because otherwise it would be completely dark and whatever. So I have a special relationship with the Guardian. He's like my electric angel. He's always on. He's there with me. Like, he's guided me through meditations and fucking activations. Like, so this is part of the story I ended up telling in this promo. I was like, well, we're going to talk about the Guardian then. Apparently I'm a conduit for telling the stories of the cast of characters out at the Midnight Diner, which is my farm, which is also my mystery school. So let me just clarify that my mystery school and my farm are two branches of the same thing. And so this stream that I'm doing is my like galactic shit, like esoteric spirituality, like mystery school type stuff. And then my farm is going to be like the earth school type stuff. Like, we're gonna, these are early days of the plans, so I don't really know kind of how it's gonna take shape, but I know that it's eventually going to become, like a regenerative garden farm school of some sort, like, I don't know, helping the community in a lot of ways, like whatever it's going to be, it's going to, fucking motorcycles. Oh my God. Maybe they won't be too loud as they drive by. Anyway, so yes, the Midnight Diner, we got the Guardian, and I ended up telling a little bit of a story about the Guardian in this promo. I did not see that coming at all. Like I said, like just like, you make your plans, but then the universe is going to tell you, actually, you're going to be doing this instead. So I'm like, okay. So I was telling the story, and it was like really awesome. And I loved, that's why I wanted the video to be better, because I was like, oh, but it's so important to me to tell this story the right way. And it's like the Guardian is just, he's just sitting there like, you did perfectly. Like, don't like, and he is the instigator of the film that I ended up making. And as you watch it, you'll see. But on the, I will put this at the end. I don't know. I'm going to try it. And if for some reason YouTube copyrights me for it, then I will repost it without it. But like, at least right now it's on my Instagram, and I'm Dread Pirate KK. If you want to go, I Dread Pirate KK on all the socials. So it's posted up there. But it's really great. And he instigated it all. Like, I was doing one thing, and then as you see when you watch the thing, it's like something completely, I didn't realize I was telling that story. And so I'm like realizing, because I felt this way when I was filming the Bog Witch one too. I was like, my whole focus, I was like, yes, I'm in the video, but like the pond is the main focus. Like, she's got such an amazing energy. Like, what? And so I felt like that promo was more about her than it really was about me. But like, I'm the human who can do the filming and tell the stories and like all that kind of stuff. So it's like I'm this weird like captain figure. I'm the captain of this fucking pirate ship, and it's like they're giving me the stories to tell about them. And so it's really exciting to kind of to see more of my place and more of my role as in this Earth school that I'm doing, because it's not just galactic shit. We have to be fully realized Earth citizens. Siren going off, confirmation. We have to be fully realized Earth citizens in order to be galactic citizens, and we're going to be moving into galactic citizens in these coming years. But we have to know how to live together and on Earth and take care of her and each other, and that's what we're being forced to do right now. It's kind of like we've been locked in a container, and you're going to get along or else. So figure out your shit. And so that's what we're seeing, is we're seeing that we're figuring out some shit. And there's a lot of fights. It's like, as a collective soul, we're kind of in this like teenager phase, it feels like, where we just, yeah, and another siren. Okay, so it's like, yeah, we're just kind of this teenage rebellion, like nobody, you've been told what to do, you know, up until, you know, for your whole life, you listen to your parents or your school people or whatever, you're listening to them. And then when you become a teenager, you are just wired. You are supposed to start questioning authority. It's like, yeah, your parents or whoever gave you the foundation that you have, but that's their perspective. And you get to have your own perspective, but you can't do that without questioning authority. And again, Saturn in Aries is going to be a whole lot more of that. Like, so yes, Saturn is going to be moving back into Pisces, but basically we've had a taste of it from, you know, April to, I think it'll move back into Pisces in maybe September or something. But basically right now, because we're in this retrograde period, we're reviewing all the things that we've been questioning about authority for the past few months. And then we're really going to start questioning it in 2026, which is why when the new era starts in 2027, there's going to just be a lot of like, we're just everything is going to fall apart even more, because most people at that point are really going to just not have the energy to put into that old system anymore. They're not going to pay attention to it. It's going to be like they're going to change the channel. There are so many fucking sirens. There are just like a lot of confirmations and a lot of energy flowing. Like, I've noticed the past few days that just a shitload of energy. And I've been feeling it a lot with like physical symptoms. This full moon gave me a lot of physical symptoms, and I'm going to get into that in a second too. But other people have been maybe feeling it differently with different emotions, or like basically the Capricorn full moon was a lot of like, yes, resting and deprogramming from the toxic, like you got to do stuff. And also you're going to feel the emotions that you've been burying, because you know, you're like, okay, well, we got a job to do, so we'll feel the emotions later. Well, later is now. So you're going to do that. And then also it's to destroy the things that are not bringing you peace. So destroy the things that are kind of ruining your life anyway. It's like, well, you're going to, and Capricorn is the goat, man. Like, just let them work. It's going to be amazing. So draw on that Capricornian spirit. We all have Capricorn in our chart somewhere. Even if it's an empty house for you, like it is for me, it doesn't mean you don't have that. It just means it's like if you have a planet or whatever in Capricorn, you're going to have an exclamation point of that Capricornian energy filtered through that planet, you know, like whatever. But when it's empty, it's just kind of like you don't have as, it's sort of, you don't have like as steady or regular or like as strong of an access to it at a lot of times. But as you learn to tap into things, it's like you can see how your other strengths, if you have planets elsewhere, like they can all play together, and you can kind of rope in using some of that Capricornian energy just because we all have it in us, and you can do it in your own way. But anyway, I don't really know what I was going with there. Capricorn full moon. Okay, yeah. Anyway, going back to the Midnight Diner and like doing some shit. So so many thoughts want to come out at once. Let me just pick one and we'll go with that. So let me just start with coming to live there in the first place. So like I said, I've been running from this place, like this whole hometown area, my whole life or whatever. And there was a point in 2022 where it was very clear I had a tower moment and I could no longer afford, literally, to run from any of this stuff. And I had to move back home because I didn't have enough money for rent and all kinds of stuff. And I couldn't work my job anymore. It was just insane. So I moved back to not the Midnight Diner. The first stop was called the Pirate Ship, which is where I kind of uncovered a lot of these things. So it's kind of like my new chapter started when I moved into the Pirate Ship. And the Pirate Ship is my mom, and that was her farm. And the house is from 1848. It is in a certain state, which is why I kept calling it the Pirate Ship, because when I was in meditation, when I first moved in September of 2022, I didn't have a job. I didn't have anything. I had a little bit of savings to kind of okay, it'll save me until I get a job elsewhere, whatever. So I was just like a wreck. I was completely detoxing from all kinds of shit. It was just I was a wreck. And so I spent a lot of time in meditation, kind of just what the fuck am I doing? My life is completely upside down. I have nothing. I don't know what the fuck to do. And that's when this pirate queen figure, I kept seeing her in some of my meditations. And finally I was like, oh, that's me. What? Oh, she was really cool. And I was like, okay, I'm a pirate queen? What? But I didn't feel like one because I'm just fucking a mess. I'm she looked really cool. And I was like, there's no way that's me. But okay, I guess if it's me, then I need to do some shit to get there. And so then I started jokingly calling my house the Pirate Ship because again, in a certain state of affairs, falling apart, it was some rough living, but she was such an awesome consciousness. The first night I moved in, because I drove across I was living in Montana at the time, so I spent 2 weeks driving across the country, visiting friends, whatever, coming back to this place. And so I was exhausted. And so the day I moved in, I got in at evening time. The sun was kind of going down or whatever, and I was just a fucking mess. And I was worried that I was like, what is going to happen? Am I going to feel afraid living here? Because I'd been living in cities for so long. I had never lived in, by myself in an old house and whatever. I didn't know. I didn't know any of this stuff. I was like, maybe I'm going to feel like an imposter. I don't belong on a farm. I'm a city girl, whatever. And the first night I didn't even make my bed. I was too tired to make my bed, so I slept on the couch. And also it was cold, so the pellet stove, which was the only heating source, I had the pellet stove on, and that's in the living room because the heat didn't go to my bedroom. So I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to sleep on the couch. And I just sat there, I laid there, and I was like, I could feel something, in my heart, something clicked into place. And I felt the house hug me. I started crying. I was like, oh my God, she has I didn't really think of houses having personalities really up until that point. Anyway, really cool shit. And she made me feel so welcome. And I was like, wow. And so again, I was just crying, and I felt like I was home, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Now, granted, the next 2 years, because I lived there for 2 years, the next 2 years were just pretty hard because that was the big start of my sati, the real financial squeeze, all kinds of it was, whoo, girl, I had some growing to do, and I did it there. And when I finally 2 years later, I got the nudge, intuitive guidance to move into my grandparents' old farmhouse, which is where I'm living now, which is now called the Midnight Diner. So I'm like, okay, I needed to live in this pirate ship for a couple years, kind of like doing whatever energetic work I needed to do, coming to, clearing out my own darkness, like that kind of shit. And so now it's time for me to be able to actually appreciate and really start at this new up-leveled house, because now it's still an old farmhouse, but not nearly as old. I think it was built in like the 40s, 30s, I don't know, something like that. And so it's like a pretty solid house, and it's all the windows are attached to the walls. Yay, upgrade from my pirate ship. And I also have central air and a beautiful, it's expensive as fuck, like the propane heating, whatever, but it is such a nice heat. Like, oh my God. And the ceilings are pretty low. It's a very like cozy kind of place. And I was afraid it was going to feel bad coming from the pirate ship with like really tall ceilings and old farmhouse stuff. I feel like I'm just being hugged in that house. It's just so nice. And so the low ceilings didn't even actually bother me. And anyway, so I moved into this house, and right away, because I moved in November of 2024, and that was about the start of that Mars retrograde period. And I've talked about it on my podcast, like with Sultry Circus. We had like a 4-part Mars retrograde series that we were both just like, oh my God, what the fuck is going on? So like basically October through like March of this year, it was a really rough time. So I just, again, I was in meditation probably a week after I moved into the farm. And again, I thought I was going to feel like an imposter. I was like, this is my grandparents' house. Like, what am I, this little kid coming in, like acting like I belong here and shit. Like, I don't know. I just felt like I was going to feel like I didn't belong there. But because I had a traumatic like move in, I didn't really have the space to sort of wallow in victim mentality where I was like, I don't know if I'm going to fit in. It was like, I was throwing tantrums left and right. I was fucking crying all the time. I was like, this is terrible. And so I never got to feel the, oh my gosh, I'm an imposter, like sitting here, whatever, because like I was too busy feeling traumatized. And so I was in meditation like a week or so after moving in, and I was in the room that's directly over the furnace, and the furnace is a boiler, like, it's oil, it comes in, the fire goes whoosh, and then like it pushes hot water through the radiators, whatever. So that's what I was like, oh my God. I just was sitting there in silence, and I heard the whoosh, and then the quiet little ping, ping, ping of the radiators, and the warmth just kind of coming in. And I was just sitting there, and I just felt like this hug. And then the energy of the house introduced itself to me. So the pirate ship was a female presence, and I just kind of assumed all houses were female at that point. I was like, oh, I don't know, maybe this was masculine energy at this point. And I was like, oh, okay, this is new. What is going on here? And it felt like this automaton, kind of like very mechanical. And I had seen my own masculine energy before show up as kind of like this automaton robot kind of thing. It was like blue neon guy with like circuitry and stuff. I don't know. So I was like, okay, this is a representation of my own masculine energy, coming online. I had to get in touch with my feminine energy at the pirate ship, and now I'm like getting in touch with my healing some masculine energy shit over here. And it was like the most amazing meditation. It was just the greatest journey to like meet the house, feel that he was just like welcoming me. He was like, of course you fucking belong here. Like, he didn't say fucking, because he's more refined than I am. But it was just really awesome to feel like I'm like, oh, I do belong here. And so I've already been thinking about a lot of neon stuff, like the last year or so before I moved in. I was like, man, I really love neon. What the fuck is up with it? Like, well, how am I just discovering this? Or like, I guess I always have, but I haven't really thought about it that much. And so this neon energy was with me, and like the masculine energy. Anyway, somehow all of that, I don't know if I could even point to the story about getting there, like logical whatevers, but at some point, the Midnight Diner just popped into my head. I was like, oh, that's what this place is. It's the Midnight Diner. Like, I had the pirate ship, and now I have the Midnight Diner, and this is where I'm building out my school, and this is where I'm becoming the community leader, because what has happened is I have seen how I am becoming both of my grandparents. So like, I had a dream once a few years ago, that I very pointedly, it felt like a ritual, but I didn't know what I was doing in the dream. It was just like, I saw my grandfather's old armchair, like his little, is that what they're called? Armchairs? Words right now are just fucking escaping me. Anyway, his old recliner or whatever. And there were cat hairs on it, which is hilarious because my grandparents never allowed animals in the house. So there were cat hairs on it. And then I sat in the chair in the dream. And I knew the cat hair, when I woke up, I was like, oh, the cat hairs must be from the Lyra. So, because for me, like the cat aspect, very Lyran heritage, whatever. And so I was like, oh, he was also Lyran apparently. And I'm kind of, or at least one aspect of him was Lyran. And we're kind of like continuing something. I'm just kind of stepping into his place for this stuff. Community leader. Like there were so many people, like, because he was a teacher and a principal and a superintendent. Like he was very involved with sports, like did the whole, he was very involved with like the school systems and also just like the farming community, because he was the farmer in the family, and he just knew everybody. He would talk to everybody. He didn't care if he knew you or not. He would just like start talking, and so many at his funeral. So many people were there with stories about how he had mentored them or he had changed their life or like whatever, and all of his family members are going like, okay, but he was an asshole. So and it's not really fair, but it's also fair because like he totally was. But also he was a very special dude, had very great energy, and he was also very traumatized. So no wonder he was an asshole. It's not like I blame him for any of this stuff anymore, but like, yeah. So anyway, I was like, oh, that's the role I'm going to start playing for my community. Okay, that's cool. I mean, I'm obviously honored, but still there's like a part of me that's like imposter. Like, I don't know anybody. Like, what do you mean? I'm just this kid. Dude had a whole lot of lessons in self-worth since then. So I know I am up to the task and then some, but like at the time I was just like, So and also, yes, I'm doing the farming and like the community leadership stuff, whatever. Then there's the midnight. So that's the farm, the earth part of the Midnight Diner school. Then moving on to my grandmother and how I've become my grandmother. Like I'm literally even in her bedroom. It's so crazy how this like worked out, because I thought I got an intuitive hit that I was supposed to put my bedroom set up in like one of the rooms. So that's what I did. And then when my housemate moved in, that wasn't going to work. So I needed to move into this other room. And that is the room that my grandmother made her bedroom at the end of her life, when she couldn't do the stairs because the bedrooms are downstairs. And so she couldn't do this. So she had her bed in the thing. And that's where my bedroom is. And as soon as I moved my bed in there, I could feel her. I was like, oh my, it was like I could feel her sitting in the bed. And so I sat at the foot of the bed, like she was kind of lying in bed and I was sitting at her feet, and I shared a dessert with her. And like, it was the coolest. I was like, I wasn't ready for this room until now. I needed to be, because I was all annoyed. I was like, why the fuck wouldn't there was a whole lot of stuff that was just like, you got to clear stuff before you can appreciate where you really need to be right now. I will get back to your question in just a second, but let me like finish this little story first and then we'll go there. But anyway, so I could feel her there, and I was like, oh, that's the inspiration for my school. Like she is here helping me with the school part. My grandfather's here helping me with the farm earth school part. And so she is the person who started an actual school while I was growing up. Like I was the first class in this new school, and when I was in 6th grade. She'd started it in like middle school. It was very experimental. There was only like 15 of us, maybe not even that many. I don't know, but there weren't a whole lot of people who were doing this class, and it was very revolutionary because you don't need to, like, we didn't have grades. We didn't do like, we still did like science and math and like, curriculums or whatever, but what we did was focus on a lot of projects that were specifically what we actually wanted to work on. So if you wanted to, like I did a ballet project, and I think one on bats maybe or something. Anyway, I just like did all kinds of shit, and it was very, I don't know how she got away with it or how she even made this happen, but it was just like an incredible feat of like, even though it wasn't a perfect school, and now it's like evolved into something. It's not even, I don't even know what the fuck is going on with it right now, but like, it's not great. Like, but whatever, it's not her vision. It's fine. She walked so I could run. And this is the kind of thing that I'm my legacy at this midnight diner is like, this is what I'm building, this whole fucking school. And we can answer, like, your question was, how can someone unlock supernatural abilities like telepathy or telekinesis or that kind of thing? That's the kind of thing we're going to be talking about on this like stream. But we also need to remember that we're Earth citizens and we need to take care of Earth or whatever. Because the thing with this unlocking the supernatural abilities and telepathy and stuff, they're natural to us. We've been brainwashed to think that we don't have them, or that it's hard to access them or whatever. And as we work on these belief systems to kind of deprogram from what other people have told us about ourselves, that we're full of original sin and not worth spit or what, it's like, that is a complete falsehood. We are divine, beautiful, supernatural creatures, eternal souls having a human experience. And so as we move into these higher densities, that's when we start to come online. And it's all going to be natural. Now, one of the easier ways of accessing some of these things is to spend a lot of time in stillness. And that includes meditation. It could be yoga. It could be a lot of shit happens when you're out in nature. And so what I have been doing, and you just kind of like, when you get quiet and recognize that there are mental loops you go into, and the point of meditation is not to like quiet or to get rid of the mental chatter. It's to just recognize that that's what it is, and that you can kind of let it do its chattering thing if it really wants to, but come back to the stillness. And that's why it's really nice to kind of just like sit there, maybe with your eyes closed, and just like when you feel, you're like, oh, I got to do laundry. Oh, wait, no, go back to breathing. Like, oh, I got to do, if I can go to the store, I got to write this little bit. Okay, I'm coming back to breathing. And as you do that, it's kind of easier to do that when you kind of not force yourself, but like you focus on the sounds that are coming around you, even if it's cars going down the road. It doesn't have to be some perfect, peaceful nature retreat to get, these abilities or to get quiet. It's like to notice what is around you and to have that still calmness, no matter what the noise or whatever is outside of you. And so even if you're in this, and in fact, being in a noisy place or noisier than you would want or whatever, it actually is one of those kind of like it's kind of like a superpower, because like you have to work harder to kind of get to that stillness point at first, but once you've reached that in a non-perfect environment, dude, when you go to an actual more quiet, if you go on a hike or you go to a farm or like whatever, when you do that and there's actual stillness, whoa, you feel like the Hulk. You're like, oh my god, I can just really move into these like meditative spaces pretty fucking easily. So it's really getting in touch with your own stuff. And so it's also trusting that what you're getting is telepathy. Because for a while, I didn't understand telepathy. I was like, what do you mean you just know? Like, what do you mean? I didn't understand it or whatever. And now I can, I get, so for example, let me just tell a story. I was going to make a video about this and I still will, but like, I'm just going to tell the story now. I was having a real bad day one day a couple months ago. I mean, I was in an emotional low that I was just like, I don't want anybody to see me like this. And so on a whim, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go outside and ask the trees for help. I don't know what sparked this. I think maybe it doesn't matter. I decided to just go outside. I sat on my favorite rock and I was like, help. And because telepathy, I knew enough about telepathy at that point to just kind of be like, it's a method of communicating without words. You just kind of like, you trust that like the things you're thinking, the things you're feeling, the trees are able to feel too, and that you get the messages you need from them as well. So anyway, when I said help, I knew the trees were listening. I knew they knew what I needed. And I didn't need to even have words if I didn't have them. It's like I don't have to force myself to be like, trees, I need a blah, 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 a blah, blah, blah. It's like they know what you need. And because we get all cloudy mentally with the emotions and stuff, it's kind of like, we're the foggy ones, but beings external to us can kind of see that we're foggy and that we don't really know. So what they can do is kind of pull the thoughts out that will help us the most, kind of thing, and kind of feed it back to us. It's like working with cards or, whatever. It's like all the answers you need are inside of you, but if you need to kind of like give me a focus point, that's when you draw cards or ask the trees or, you know, like whatever. So I was sitting there asking the trees for help. And then I was having this thought process because I have a lot of times when I ask for help still, even though I've done a lot of work on this and I'm in a better place, I was like still feeling a little bit guilty. That's that programming for like, what I shouldn't be asking for help if I'm not giving stuff back, or like I'm not worth help because I'm not even doing anything, or, you know, whatever. And then I always remind myself, I'm like, no, you are worth receiving things, even if you don't do things, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Even if you do nothing, you're still worth receiving stuff. And so I did that thought pattern. I was like, no, get out of that guilt. Like, you're totally worthy of receiving stuff, even if you do nothing. And then I was like, but that's not good. Like, I hear that phrase and I believe it because it feels like it's a true thing, but also I don't understand why. Like, I needed a why for some reason that day. And so the trees were like, well, even when you're doing nothing, you're still contributing to the isness. And I was like, interesting, but also how? It wasn't quite good enough. So I'm like, I need a signier sign. And they were like, because when you do nothing, you're holding the frequency of nothingness, which is an important part in the song. And I was like, oh, fuck. They knew what to say to me. I was like, oh my God, absolutely. It's frequency based. And of course, you know, it just like blew my mind. It was like, oh my God. And so I know that thought did not come from me because I was in no place to give myself grace. I was like ready to beat myself up till the cows came. And so that's the telepathy kind of thing. So that's why when you get quiet, shit comes into you. And it's just, you know, the more playful curiosity you can have, the easier it is. And it was hard for me for a long time. And I still get uptight about things and I'm like, but I want to push, I want to do the thing, and blah, 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 blah. I get frustrated if it takes too much time, or I feel like I'm not good enough, or, you know, whatever. And it's like, if you release all of that and you're like, what would happen if I played around with telekinesis or whatever? You probably won't do shit the first however many times you do it. But if you just laugh about it and you're going into it like it's a child discovering a toy for the first time, that's the energy that unlocks these things way faster. Because when we're like, okay, I'm jealous of the other people around me that I can see who can do shit or whatever. And jealousy is not a bad thing, by the way. I just want to say that real quick, because like jealousy, especially for in human design, like us generators or whatever, when you feel jealousy, it's like you want that thing or what that person has, or, you know, whatever. And it's like, okay, you can't have theirs or whatever, but you can have your version of it. So it's like, you know, it's like feeling jealousy is kind of like showing you what you actually want, but you just need to clear away some of the distortions about what you currently have and how to get there, and like what changes you need to make in yourself to get the thing that you want, kind of stuff. So anyway, back to the telepathy thing, that is the kind of thing that is going to come online even more strongly when the current systems crumble. So like, for example, the internet or telephones, or like they talk about the grid going down, you know, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. And we're all just like, well, how are we going to keep in touch with our friends and family? Like, blah. That's when telepathy comes online, because all the things external to us are just representations of our own natural abilities. So like the internet, and if you watch, I have not listened to the telepathy tapes, the podcast about autism and that kind of thing. I recommend doing it, even though I haven't listened to it. I fully recommend doing it anyway, because I've heard other people talk about it and I'm like, oh, that is very good information. We should all be, but it's like, I already know the stuff that they're talking about, so I just like, I don't need to listen to it. But if you haven't yet, it kind of describes like I don't know if they use the words internet or whatever, but it's like an internet where it's like these autistic people go to this place, like a mountaintop or whatever, and like they can see their friends and talk to them or whatever. They're not physically going there, but they're going there in their minds, and they can kind of communicate. That's our internet. Like, we are the internet, you know? So don't worry about things, you know, crumbling or whatever, because that's when our stuff, but it requires you to trust that you're receiving that. Like me with the trees. A few years ago, I would not have been able to do that because I wouldn't have trusted that any messages I was getting were coming from the trees or whatever. I would have just been like, oh, I made it up. It's all in my head. It's in my imagination. Yeah, that's the imagination is the third eye, which is connected to source, which is connected to the all, which is how we can. So the more you can actually visualize and dream and like play around around with like having conversations with your own fucking street lamp, like I do with the Guardian. Like, he is real. Every single thing has consciousness. Even my car has consciousness. And I've always thought that, like, even when I was a little kid, I remember getting in my great grandmother's car, and I knew the car was alive. I mean, I knew it wasn't alive, but like, it felt somehow alive, and I didn't know how to describe it at all. But I was like, I've always thought that about everything. Like, even though I never really talked to trees, I knew they were alive. Like, and not just physically, like, yes, they grow leaves and shit like that. Like, there was something else there, some consciousness that was there. Anyway, so to me, the Guardian is absolutely fucking real. He has his own personality. We've talked. He, like I said, we've been through meditations and like journeys. He's helped activate me. So once the Midnight Diner, okay, so real quick story about like how he became so important to me is because when I was living at the pirate ship, the original windows were in a lot of the windows. So it's very old glass, like glass that had like warbled and kind of shit. And when the sunlight would come through those windows, I have never seen light like that. I mean, it is specific to windows that are like that old, you know, like they've had some, I was like, I will never have light like this again. And I was really sad when I knew, even though I needed to move to a better house, like one that actually wasn't falling apart, and I knew it was an upgrade to move into, you know, the Midnight Diner kind of thing, I was still just like, but my light. And when that first night when I moved into the Midnight Diner and the Guardian was on, I was like, oh, I just got upgraded light-wise too. Because it's just like, it's constantly full moon energy with it, but it's like the electric moon. I don't know how to tell you guys how much this guy means to me, because it's just, I mean, it's probably clear. It's not like I don't talk about him at all. But it's his frequency, and in the promo that I filmed, I was like, his energy feels like a warm hug on a crisp fall day. It's just, it's all real. So anyway, there's these cast of characters out at the Midnight Diner, and I'm going to be telling their stories as part of this art project of mine that is my life. I'm just going to talk about, like, that's why I'm going to make a video about talking to the trees about the self-worth thing, and you're worthy of receiving things even if you do nothing, because again, that thought did not come from me, it came from the trees. And so I get to introduce, you know, the world to my beautiful pirate ship of characters. Like, they're, you know, and I joke about being the captain, like, yes, I'm the captain, but I don't have any illusions on like I'm better than anything out there with me. It's like they're allowing me to be the captain. And again, like I said, I'm the human who can communicate and like tell the stories and do the filming and like, you know, whatever. And I'm having a fuck ton of fun doing this, even though whatever. So yeah, the Guardian has kind of taken me through these activations, and that comes back to the promo, and the title of this whole thing is The Guardian and the Birth of Tick Girl. So I am Tick Girl. And one of the reasons I have been resting so much, I know I alluded to it earlier in the stream, and I was like, we'll get to that. The reason I have been resting a lot is because I have a tick bite, which I received at the Gemini new moon in May. And this is activating, it's like every time we have a big lunation, like new moon, full moon, new moon, like every time something about this gets like worse or different or like whatever. And I'm just like, so when I first got the tick bite and it was on my right ovary, which immediately I knew, I was like, this is the mother wound. I don't know, even though the right side for me is like the masculine side, I knew that this was the mother wound and that I was healing the ancestral patterns I have inherited from the women in my family, which is being too much in our masculine energy. It's like we need a balance of it, and it's we all have both energies, masculine and feminine, but because we've all been forced into, and men and women alike, but like we've been forced so much into our masculine energy that it's burned out. It's like we're totally like, it's like working out one side of your arm and it's like big Hulk and you're just like a little teeny, it's like, it doesn't make any sense. And so like to be balanced, it's more like we need to be on the receiving side and listening to our intuition and like out of the mental space and like that kind of stuff. So anyway, I was like, immediately I knew that I was working on the mother wound, but I didn't think it was a big deal, which is also hilarious because when I finally told my mom about the tick bite, I didn't tell anyone for a while because I just was like, didn't want to worry anyone. And I thought it wasn't a big deal and like all this stuff. So I finally told her about it and where it was. She was like, oh, that's interesting. I've always had pain in my right ovary. And your great grandmother had some ovary problems. I was like, well, if that weren't confirmation, I was like, interesting. So the first 2 weeks I had it, I just didn't think it was, yes, it was red, it was rashy, it was kind of itchy. I was like, well, I guess it's just an allergic reaction, whatever. Then 2 weeks later at the Sagittarius full moon, my two friends came over and they were looking at it and they were like, it's bullseyeing. I was like, what? Because I was like, oh, and then I looked at it again. I was like, oh, it is like, and I hadn't seen that before. So again, this trickster fucking energy. So anyway, then I started to freak out because I was like, well, I need to fix this, and I don't have insurance because I don't have a job. Like I don't have any of this stuff. I'm like, I don't know, and I also don't really want to take antibiotics. Like, let's fucking face it. I know you can like rebuild your gut biome and all that, cause like I know that, but I was like, if I can avoid it, I would like to avoid taking antibiotics. So I didn't want to go to a Western doctor. So I was freaking out about like, well, how do I do this? Maybe I should just take the antibiotics, blah, 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 whatever. Then I remembered when I calmed down again, when I just like actually breathe and get into my heart space, I get the answers I need. And it was like, remember, you have an acupuncturist who has given you tinctures before. I bet he has some suggestions. And if he doesn't, then you go to the antibiotic route. Just try some shit. So I texted him. He texted back right away. He was like, you get in here. you come in here. We're going to figure some stuff. So I was like, okay. So like went in there and he gave me a couple tinctures, one for Lyme. It was just literally labeled Lyme disease. He was like, it doesn't look like a typical bullseye that comes from Lyme, but we're going to treat it that way anyway, just in case. And I was like, cool. So it was a Lyme tincture and then one that was like ledum or something. I don't know. And this is not medical advice or anything. It's just like I'm showing my experience with this stuff just so you can see the rise of Tick Girl and like fully understand the story that I'm like telling you about the Guardian and whatever. So anyway, I get the tinctures. I do the thing for 2 weeks. It's great. And I thought it was going to go away. It was fine. It was like, it's still a little itchy. It was kind of red and rashy, but I was like, well, it's better, whatever. Then on the other, I forget what, was it cancer? I forget. Whatever the fucking other new moon was, or full, whatever. That's when I started to freak out again. It was like my body was like, oh, you don't need to worry, you don't need to worry, you don't need to worry. And then all of a sudden on the new moon or whatever, it was like, you need to worry. And I was like, haha, what? So I texted my acupuncturist again and I was like, I need help. And he was like, get in here right now. So I went, and it was funny because like I already had an appointment for the following day, but in between, so like, he was calling me in the day before my actual appointment. And I was like, you know what? I think I do need to go in. I'm a little worried about this because I was going to wait for my appointment an extra day. I'm really glad I didn't because it was blood poisoning. He was like, yeah, this sounds like a... So he refilled the two tinctures, like Lyme and the whatever the other one was. And then he also gave me one for blood poisoning. And he also did a treatment on me. This time he actually, and it was interesting because one part of the treatment was moving excess electricity from my right hip to my spleen area, which had a deficit of electricity. So it was kind of like a really interesting electrical activation because amongst all the things that I was dealing with was this tick bite, I was also walking. A couple different people were kind of going through some shit. And so one of the friends I was helping through some pretty gnarly stuff, all of a sudden I started to feel tingly in my hands. And I was like, what is happening here? It was like after I had helped them through like understanding a couple things they were going through, and my hands were tingly, and I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening? And I caught my eye just got drawn to the Guardian, and he was like, yeah, it's your your masculine energy. And so again, speaking of telepathy, this was like all coming in, and I understood what had happened was a massive amount of electrical energy had gone through my friend, and I was able to ground it with my own ability because my own masculine energy was there to kind of like support and like ground the shock and kind of help through some things. And anyway, so I was like, holy shit. So I know this is tied to the tick bite on the masculine side, like spreading the poison, clearing shit out, whatever. Then a couple days later, I was helping someone else through like another pretty gnarly thing with like, it was a boss battle for me at the same time, just like a bunch of different things. And that was my feminine activation. And so it was like just a couple days in between all this stuff. And then the tick bite. So it's just so fascinating to like, the rise of the superheroes, you know, like there's always, I was like, really? I couldn't have been like Superman or like fucking Spider-Man getting bit by a cool spider. No, I'm Tick Girl. Like, what the fuck? So anyway, I'm Tick Girl, and I can feel the poison, like the cure is in the poison kind of thing. Like whatever was happening with this tick bite was showing me that I still had some energy cords that I needed to like cut off and like bring my energy back to me instead of like feeding other people kind of shit. And so once I was doing that and I was able to, it's like, so this has been kind of like a long, the Capricorn full moon just fucking activated. Like I was fine after, you know, taking the blood poison thing, like all of the tinctures I was taking, it was totally fine. Like had 2 great sessions with my acupuncturist, moving the electricity, whatever. And then this Capricorn full moon brought back some of the symptoms, and I was just like, I am so irritated and so exhausted because it's physical. It's like pain. It's like, it's energetic, but like I'm feeling it physically. And you know, one of my friends was talking about a course they were going through, like lucid dreaming or whatever, and they were working with the blood serpent, and they were saying how the blood serpent, it was tied to, they know that the messages were there for me to help some of the tick poison and the blood serpent helping me not go back into hell and like all kinds of shit. It's like when the scariest shit happens to you, that's like the cool, on the other side of that is like the activation. So take the medical care that you need, obviously. But like this tick bite for me has been this activation, and I can feel how I have this like feminine energy on the right side, like in my right over, like it's like an interesting balance of like the feminine, you know how the yin and yang symbol has like the white or black dot and the other opposite thing. That's what it feels like. It feels like this black feminine yin energy dot on my masculine like side where it's like, that's where I feel like I'm balanced. Anyway, it was a very, this is why the Guardian means so much to me, and like why this whole experience of like building out the school has meant so much to me, because like this is the kind of shit we talk about in Earth Mystery School. So I imagine people listening, if you have found this video, it is for a reason, because you are going through something similar. And this maybe has codes or like help for you as I talk about my own story, which is again what's very important, to share your stories, because you don't know who needs to listen to them to get help for what they're going through. So anyway, welcome to the Midnight Diner. And the cast of characters, the Guardian. Like I said, I'm going to put this promo up there. We had a great little, I just don't want to spoil the promo because it was such a great little, it's a great little video. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some water, and then we're going to switch to the cards because I am running low on energy. It's also been, oh my God, it's been like an hour and a half. So it's going to be a quick little card. Oh my gosh, I have like no fucking room over here. All right. But yes, I finally was able to tell the story of the Midnight Diner and the pirate ship. It's been on my list to talk about for fucking, actually, let me just make sure there was nothing else I wanted to talk about. Purging poison. Yeah, this fucking full moon was a lot of purging. Just, oh my God, so much fucking purging. Okay. We're going to go with our Light Seers Tarot, and we're going to pick the 13th card. No shuffling. No nothing. All right, 13. King of Swords. Oh, that's so fascinating. Because after both of my feminine and masculine activations and the night that I was filming the Guardian promo, I saw a bat, and a bat is me. Like I'm a total, one of my soul aspects is a bat, and there's a bat. And an owl. So swords energy, and a crow, obviously. Swords and, oh my gosh, is that a fucking dragonfly? Yeah. So this is just a really, this card is full of stuff. So part of the promo trailer and the Guardian whole thing, it was full of trickster energy. Okay, I'll talk to, okay. Why in the, okay, why, when someone prays to heaven and when someone is not praying, they both receive the things they want in life. What is the point of praying then when they both probably will receive? That's a good question. Because how do you know they're not praying? I mean, okay, that was kind of, but like also, I think I know what you mean though. It's like when someone is spiritual or when someone is not spiritual and everyone's getting what they want and you're like, well, I'm doing all this spiritual work. Why the fuck do I not get the manifestations and, you know, whatever. And for a while, we've all been in this like kind of holding pattern where a lot of the stuff we've been asking for and working on manifestations and all kinds of stuff. And maybe that's tied into this card. I feel like some of the messages are coming through that are part of this where it's like, well, let me just finish answering the thing. You don't have to be a quote unquote good person to get what you want. Like, you can act shitty and still get the things that you want. And so again, it's rewriting our beliefs and our ideas of what worth means. Like, well, I'm praying, so you know, I deserve to think. You both deserve what you want because we just deserve. Okay, as a soul, you get what you want. Period. Like, you think it, you have it. You are worthy of that. Basically, just because you want the thing, you're worth having that thing. Now, as a human, we kind of have to go through linear time and like a bunch of different soul growth type stuff and all kinds of stuff. So a lot of times we'll get blockages or like linear time is very, you know, slow and whatever. So like it's not always immediate, but at the soul level, it is like an immediate thing. You just kind of get what you want. And so you don't have to hold yourself to some sort of standard of like, well, I need to act like this so I get my rewards or I go to heaven or, you know, like any of that stuff. It's like, those are human constructs. And so be the person you want to be. Like, being authentic is the most important thing, because when you're authentic, you get the things that are in alignment for you. You are aligned with your truth, and that truth could be that you are not necessarily a person who just holds the door open for people or who does praying every day or like whatever. Like, it's not, you don't have to act a certain way to get the things that you want. And we're just told bad people don't pray and their life is good. Yeah, I mean, you know, I gotta say, they're still connected to God. They are a spark of God, you know, like it's and maybe the things that they want, they're not doing. Like, I don't know. It's kind of hard to make a comment on this, because it's more like, if you're focusing on what other people are getting and what you're not getting, you're going to have more of that. Like, you're going to continuously see people have stuff that they want and that you don't. And I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying, like, this is the kind of thing that that again are the human construct narratives, where it's like, if you focus on the things that you already have and you're just like, you look at everything, because again, having is evidence of wanting. And so if you look around and you see all the stuff that you have, and again, with this like Knight of Swords, it's like swords are very like mental energy, like thoughts energy. So I kind of feel like this question that you're asking is sort of like weirdly tight, because I was like, do I need to read the guidebook on this? Like, what am I getting? And I may read the guidebook, but what I feel like is happening is we're answering this question, where the king in this deck is like, you know, the most powerful in the deck, where he's just like, he's done all of the work and has an idea of like how he's been through enough changes to his mental, you know, patterns and thoughts and like that kind of stuff, where he's just like, I focus on myself, on my beliefs, on the things that I can do. And I have built this amazing, wise, you know, rich life for myself, because I am focusing only on the things that I have, and knowing that like other people aren't like, let other people do what they want to do. And like, as you see the stuff that you have in your life, you start opening that channel where it's like, oh, I'm getting even more stuff that I want. But until you can see the things that you already have and like appreciate them for what, like, you wanted them at least at one point, and again, if you don't want them anymore, that's great, but just kind of like breaking the thought patterns of like you have to be a certain way. It's like a judgment on someone else. It's like they're a bad person, they don't pray, or whatever is your standard for like a bad person, and it's like, well, they shouldn't get things that they want. But who says, like, why do you have that thought? And it's okay that you have that thought. I'm not saying I'm perfect at this by any means. I get so frustrated when I see that people in power in particular right now. I'm like, how the fuck are they still in power? Like, they don't deserve it. They're taking us down these roads that are just like, what the fuck? I'm so frustrated. But again, it's one of those things where we wanted to experience limitation and to build the responsible use of power and like creation in the face of such crazy limitation. So like maybe you as a soul picked a very difficult, like a lot of roadblocky stuff because you knew that the growth you could get from that would be even more powerful than someone lazy over here, not praying, not doing whatever, and they're just getting what they want. It's like, whatever. There's not a whole lot of growth that comes from that. It's an okay way to live. It's totally fine. It's, again, an expression of the isness. It's like, what does it mean to exist? That's just an expression of like how to get things. You can do things your way, but if you're focusing only on what other people have and you don't, that's the energy you're going to be in. So as you don't let other people, who cares what other people are doing? I mean, I'm not saying to be not frustrated by it, but like focus on what you have. Why praying doesn't work and nobody responds? Well, I don't think it doesn't work. I think that, again, you're attached to receiving something that maybe isn't for you or isn't for you yet. And so attaching to like when you should be getting these things is, again, a mental construct and one of those like King of Swords. Change those thought patterns. Change those beliefs, those thought patterns. And look at he's not worried about anyone else. You know what I mean? I think a lot of this, the Capricorn, this is kind of, it's not that it's giving Capricorn energy, but for some reason it kind of is a little bit right now for me, especially having talked about the Capricorn full moon and like all kind, and like the thought, like the mental, this is a very powerful card. And, there's a lot of peace in this card, like, in fact, I am going to just like quickly get this out and see if there's anything else that kind of pops out at me. Yeah, intelligence, logic, rules and law, clear thinking, a strong communicator and leader, truth and proof, blending mental and spiritual pursuits, bravery and courage. Yeah, so, okay. This card suggests finding impartial clarity before you take your next step. So even though you're always thinking like seeking data and proof, it's like you got to blend experience with inventiveness, or like intelligence with emotional and spiritual energies. So like, find your own, like be your own authority kind of thing. Don't let anyone else tell you what you should or shouldn't be doing. It's kind of like take in information. This is also kind of like how I feel about the stuff that's happening and the trickster energy that's happening right now. I'm just so fucking, I knew I was going to be sick of trickster energy, but like also I'm really, but I know it's a friend, whatever. So like the crow and all that stuff, it feels like there's a whole lot of information out there, a whole lot. We don't know what's real. We don't know what's fake. Like anything that someone is telling you, doesn't matter how well you know them. It could be the news, it could be your friend, like it doesn't matter how close you are. Just like, what do they gain by telling you this information and having you believe that information? Like really, really get your King of Swords energy on here and be like, because the owl and the crow, like everyone here is just kind of like, be discerning. Like you're gonna get a whole lot of shit. And you just really need to focus on your own experience and your own internal truth. And so anyway, that's going to be the message for that. I don't really think we got all there was out of that. Thank you. And then I draw 2 cards from the Galactic Heritage deck. Only the best deck ever. These are all the best decks ever. I do 3 decks, so this is the second. And then we'll draw a dragon card. So there's 2 out of here because there's 2 piles. Okay, there's that one. Face down so I don't see it yet. Oh Lord, I'm tired. Okay. Okay, interesting, because there was, I think that was number, it popped out. Okay, so this one, it's not going to be like our actual card, but like this one did pop out. So it's an energy transmission. Like what we're getting, the energies flowing right now are really coming through like an Arcturian sort of, anyway. That's nice energy. I like that. Arcturus for me is also very angelic. So the fact that I'm talking about the Guardian, who's an electric angel, and the King of Swords, like that electric, like that mental energy just kind of feels electric to me and masculine. And anyway, oh, well, interesting. We draw. All right. Abandonment and coming full circle. So let's start with abandonment, because that's the one I saw the first. We're really dealing with a lot of abandonment issues. And I think what this is, especially, you know, the stuff that we've talked about, like with the external authorities and like, we're why, like, why does praying not work, or, you know, whatever, like you're feeling abandoned, you know, that kind of shit. And a lot of us are, I have gone through this multiple, even though I know everything is fine and I know I'm my own best friend and like I know my soul has my back and like everything is happening for me, and even though I don't love every part about the situation that I'm in right now, because like I want to have more money, for example, or, you know, like whatever, I know everything is okay, but I still go through my moments of feeling abandoned. But this one, to me, a lot of times feels like, where have you been abandoning yourself for fear of being abandoned by the other? And so coming back home to yourself, literally coming full circle, it's like you start to give your power to the outside people. It's like, oh, my life sucks because of that person or that thing, or, you know, whatever, or feel abandoned because, you know, you're never abandoned. You're never abandoned. You are all, like, you have teams of guides, you have your own higher self. Like, you are a powerful, you don't even know how powerful you are, because again, you've been brainwashed to think that you're just this peon human that has to listen to external authorities. No, you fucking don't. you are you're the King of Swords, you know. and so yes, it can feel really, really lonely a lot of times in this life, like this inverted matrix we live in. It's insane. Okay, it's meant to make you feel separated and lonely and abandoned, and you feel all these negative feelings, which is why we start people pleasing, so that we fit in somewhere, and we repress our own unique self. And so right now, it's like, you got to be that original self. You got to be that weird, unique self. Pulsar of Pain. Hello, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. So anyway, yeah, I don't know what I was. Yeah, you're never abandoned, basically. Like, even if you don't have the things that you quote unquote want, just you do have the things that you want, and you can work to change them, but you got to come back home to yourself and realize that you were the only one abandoning you all along. And whether that's like abandoning your own faith in yourself, or it's really like self-worth, you know, all kinds of stuff. And this is like a past, like these are original wound, like the past energy here. It's like, you know, and then 5, you know, 50, like the number 5 is the number of change in numerology. Like things are really shifting, and it's like sudden changes. And that's what we kind of experience in this like Uranus in Gemini transit for the next 7 years. Yes, he's going to move back into Taurus for a few months in the fall, whatever. But like in April, I think, of next year, he's like fully in Gemini But he's in Gemini right now for a few months. And so we're feeling that sudden change, that electric, like, shit is happening, stuff is changing, like life is taking a crazy new direction. And you're going to see that, like, where you thought you were abandoned and, like, you know, nobody's around, this stuff was happening in the background. And what you were being asked to do was to get in touch with yourself and to see where you had abandoned your own principles or abandoned your own truth. And that is not to, don't judge yourself for doing that, because again, the world we live in has never made sense. It's like this homogenized, weird, arbitrary rules and shit. And so the coping mechanisms, like abandoning yourself and your own truth, it's like you had to do that because it didn't feel safe to do anything else other than that. So don't judge yourself. But it's hard. I keep doing the same thing. Like, I know I shouldn't judge myself, but I still have emotional lows and feel those feelings. Again, with the don't repress. Like the King of Swords knows to, yes, have the mental, like the data and whatever, but also to feel that spiritual, the intuition, like the feelings. Like you got to have both to have that mental acuity that you actually really want to have to get through some of these things. Why Jesus was left by God? He was the most spiritual and intelligent. What did he do? What did he do wrong to have bad things happen to him? Okay, he asked in his final words why God left him. So if he is asking God, then he felt that God abandoned him. Okay, so interesting on the final words, like, why have you abandoned me, or why have you forsaken me? That there was a, dang, I wish I had, there was an amazing Instagram video of a pastor who addressed that very thing. And I don't know if I'm going to do it justice. But I'm going to try Joseph Yu, like YOO. I think that's his name. I really want to look. Oh my God, it's 111. I have to look it up. 111. But I just want to find out his name because I want to credit him. Joseph Yu. And he's a pastor who posts on Instagram sometimes. So joseph.yoo. He addressed that very thing. Oh my God, it was so good, because what that was, the forsaken thing, it was actually, I think, the start, it was like the first line of like a parable or something of the time. And so during Jesus's time, everybody would have known that if you say the first line of the parable, you're really referring to the message of the entire parable, and you don't have to say the entire story to get to the point. And the actual point of the parable was that he wasn't abandoned, that, you know, and again, I need to find that but it was actually a very uplifting message. It was a very uplifting parable. And the Bible, you know, the religion has twisted it to be like, you have forsaken me. No, that's not how it is. So, but I don't have the expertise on that. So I don't want to be like, I don't want to talk too much about it, because I'm just like, I don't really know. But he had an amazing, if you go on Instagram and find this guy, he has great posts about the Bible where he's like talking about stuff in ways that are just like, he's just very calm and clear, and like it looks at things in ways that like not every religious person I have ever been around does. So highly recommend. But yeah, and that's the thing about the abandonment. You don't have to, you're not abandoned regardless. Even if you feel abandoned, you're not, but it's okay to feel that way. So, you know, as you move through the spiritual journey, you kind of see that like the isolation is a gift, and that you get to know your own self through all of this. And like any isolation you're feeling, you're always with yourself. And so it's hard to I really wish I had that video. Anyway, just go look up the video. But you're not abandoned. But it's okay to have that experience. And that's one of the things that we've been kind of like learning about this life that we are living. It's like you get more of what you ask for. So if you are like always wondering like, why am I abandoned? Why am I abandoned? The universe is going to hear that and be like, oh, he likes feeling abandoned. She likes feeling abandoned, like whatever. It's like, we'll give him more of that feeling. And so if you just, so again, but feel all the feelings. You don't have to be, you don't have to be a certain way, but like, don't I don't know. It's I'm not really being very clear on this, so I might just kind of need to. I've preferred being a lone wolf in this world. It is not a good idea to rely on connections in today's world. And I've been there too, like the lone wolf stuff. Like I, to a certain extent, I agree. And I have been like I prefer being alone in all kinds of ways and whatever. But also that's one of the things that we're kind of moving away from is that like, I got to do everything by myself kind of thing. We're moving back into group consciousness. We've been in a period, a phase of separation. And so we've experienced life as like, I am this person and that's it. And everyone else outside of me is other. But we are a human collective soul. There's one soul, there's an oversoul. And then that soul has incarnated in all these different humans that we're seeing. So again, like I said at the beginning of the stream, it's like the people you hate the most are still part of your tribe. And we're moving back into group unity consciousness, which means we're going to have telepathy and feel all the things that everyone else is feeling. So, so we have to come together as a group because we literally have no choice. And so the people around you, as you're building community, we have to have community to get through this phase. Now, you can do everything you can do alone. Like we do need to learn how to be independent, but it's more interdependence that we're moving into. Like you are your fully realized self who has come in alignment with your own truth and you found your own note in the song. And then everybody else in the human collective has found their note of the song, and we start singing in harmony. Right now we're singing in dissonance because all of us are just like, what the fuck is happening? So, but interdependence means we are a group, a community, but we each have our own things that we can do, and we overlap a little bit with certain people, whatever, but we have to become we literally have no choice. And you can fight it as long as you want. Like I fought plenty of times. I'm just like, nope, I don't want to be around people. Fuck everybody. Like I never leave my house. I'm like, no, nope. That out there, I do not want to be out here. So I totally understand that. But as you are guided to connect with people, that is probably because you were supposed to be working with them in some way. And it can involve, there's a lot of people in my community that I'm not necessarily excited about working with, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to do it. And that's the thing. It's like, you don't have to give them extra energy, the people you don't like or whatever, but we all need to learn how to work together there's literally no other option. And you will see that as you'll hit roadblock after roadblock until you start to ask for help or accept help or rest or like any of this stuff. And the universe will take care of you. Like your own higher self, you will get there. No problem. I mean, you might struggle a little bit. Like it's a struggle. It's not necessarily always easy and peaceful, but like you will get there, period. And it maybe not in this lifetime or whatever. Maybe it's another lifetime, but still you will get there. We are so attached to linear time and like doing things quickly or, like the human construct of like immediate satisfaction or whatever. It's like, no, we're working on soul time. It takes the time that it takes. I'm only around people when I have no choice. Like if I'm at work, for example, or if I have a choice in the matter, I've learned over time it's not a good idea to open up to people. Yeah, and you don't open up to just anyone. That's the thing. Like with this community stuff, it's like I don't have to tell people everything, and we have to be kind of okay being misunderstood. At least that's what I've discovered for myself. It's like, maybe somebody doesn't let me get a word in edgewise, and so they have this one perspective of me, and I just am like, okay. Like, whatever, and so I don't necessarily open up to that type of person. But again, that doesn't mean they're not in my community. It just means I interact with them in a certain way, which is why we're all getting so fucking tired. It's like, we're tired of the small talk. We're tired of the people not getting us or like seeing us. And we need to be around the people who do see us, which is why, again, to share your story. Because as I've started talking to more people or sharing my own stories and stuff, people they're like, oh my gosh, I was going through the same thing or like whatever. It's like, yeah. But also right now is because this abandonment card, it's like, we're getting to know where we have abandoned ourselves. And so we are being forced into a lot of isolation because we really need to once we get to know ourselves, then it doesn't matter about other people. It really, it doesn't fucking matter. And it's a freedom that is just like really, really nice. Okay, I want to see if anything else stands out about the abandonment card, because a lot of this is karmic, and we're flushing out those old karmic scars of abandonment. Yeah, the card asks you to help humanity heal by remembering your universal connections and the fundamental truth: we are never alone. We're just never alone. I'm alone physically, or whatever, all of the time. Like, I'm always alone. But I don't ever feel alone. I feel like the trees are there, the fucking rocks, the guardian, my cats, like my own higher self, my ancestors, my spirit guide team, like even my friends who are alive, like, I'm not talking to them, whatever, but like I feel them in the astral, the ether, like whatever. I know we're connected, and we're all, so your soul family, as you're calling in your soul family, which is really just parts of you. It's just like, read your last message. About Jesus? Jesus was the most intelligent. He probably knew all those things, and yet he was killed, and none of all his knowledge helped him, and terrible things happened to him, to good people. Shouldn't knowledge help you in hard times? Yes, it should. But again, the nature of the experience of reality that we have been having the last, I want to say, it's been 12,000, 13, like we've had a massive era that we're coming out of where we were meant to live in fear, and the people who were enlightened were killed. Okay? And that was part of a longer term plan for ascension. And so like serious limitation, serious, like, I mean, this last era has been insane. The fall from group consciousness that we had after Atlantis, or during Atlantis, the end of Atlantis, like that shit was traumatic, and it brought on this whole era of Jesus type stories. And we are pounded over and over with images of him being crucified, or like the thorns, or like bleeding, or whatever. It's like, if you speak your truth, this is going to happen to you. And so he was made an example of, because he knew too much, like he was too connected to God. Like he was trying to tell people, you don't have to go through me or a priest. You can talk to God directly, and they fucking killed him for it, so, and that was part of the plan. It was part of like, it was this whole soul journey growth of like, what happens to a fall of group human consciousness when shit goes wrong. Like, and so at one level, yeah, it's really awful and crappy and like, very traumatic and all that stuff. But at a higher level, when you look at something from a broader, longer term perspective, the shit that we have learned from this is incredible. The amount of data, the stories, the fucking richness of all the isness that has been happening over the past era, that's invaluable to a soul. And so soul doesn't see good or bad, it just sees things happening. Like this, and our human selves are like, we need to feel the feelings, we need to feel the trauma, the grief, like the pain, like we need to feel all those things, because that's part of the point of like healing them, is to feel them. But like, a longer term, Earth has volunteered to be the host for these ascension timelines. And so we've been through some shit to get here. And so now we're on the golden timeline. It's going to be amazing after that. But like, this was just an experiment, and it was like a terrible experiment. Like from a human perspective, it didn't feel fucking good to go through a lot of this stuff. But from a soul's perspective, they just don't see the good and bad like that. They just see what is. I used to want healing and want to help humanity, but over time I've learned there is no healing. You just get used to the pain and learn to live with it, and humanity is beyond saving. You can try to help humanity all you want, but ever since the dawn of humanity, they have only sought power and to destroy. There's no saving humanity. Okay, that's cool. I mean, I've totally been there. Like I've had, boy, oh boy, have I been in those places mentally and all kinds of things. I no longer am in that place, so it's totally fine that you are like love, lots of love to you. Like I know it's a hard place to be in because it's very dark and it feels really heavy, and I know you're going through a lot of grief and pain and struggle with this because I've been there myself. And so that's what we're seeing out there. I know is a lot of unsavable seeming things because it's pretty fucking horrible. But again, from that bigger soul picture, I can see the future. I came from the future, and I take that however the fuck you want. I know some of this shit sounds like, to people who are not used to this stuff, you're like, really, lady, you think you're from the... Yeah, I am from the future, but that's only because I understand that I am connected to my soul who exists outside of time. So my soul has incarnated like in the past, will in the future, all these kinds of things. And the now moment, I can connect with the aspects of myself from the future. And I see what we have created as a humanity. And right now, it's the dark night of the soul. Shit doesn't feel good when you're in the dark night of the soul. It feels helpless and unsavable and all kinds of things. See the future? What have I said? Oh, girl, it's like... Oh, and I don't think we humans learned something. When you read ancient philosophy and you can see that the people haven't changed, there are still wars today, still killings and very bad things. What have we learned? All great questions. And yes, seeing the future, what have I seen? So again, we're in the period of time where the old stories are losing their energy, and we're in the process of creating new ones. So what we see out in the collective right now is all the old stories transmuting themselves into new ones. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, it can be transformed. And so the energy of the old stories is slowly being transformed into these new stories. But it takes the time it takes because it's an individual journey. You have to change your own stories, your own beliefs. And by stories, I mean like, what is the story you have told yourself, about the world, about living on earth, about spirituality? What are the stories you hold, the belief systems, the limitations? What do you, and that King of Swords energy, right back to where, coming full circle, back to the King of Swords energy. It's like, the Matrix is not like it's not like it's not real. The Matrix is a mental construct, basically. King of Swords is no longer in the Matrix because he understands that it's our own limiting thought patterns and beliefs. And so when you create a new story for yourself, like for example, all of the trauma I have been through, for example, I know that it sucked as a human to go through all the traumatic shit that I have been through. But I also see that if I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't have learned how to be the person that I am right now. And I fucking love myself so much, it's ridiculous. And I'm, that was this experience we had. Like, it doesn't mean that every soul growth lesson has to come from pain and suffering. It just means that it did in this last chapter. And we're moving into a story where it's like, things we can heal in joy. We can heal easily. We can heal, like life is beautiful. Life is rich and emotionally fulfilling. And that's the type of story we want to write for ourselves. Or maybe you don't. That's the thing. And that's the thing with this split. It's like there are going to be people who don't want to experience these new stories. And so they're going to continue to hold on to victim mentality, hold on to the abandonment, like they're going to hold on to that. And that is a valid choice. It is up to every single individual soul what they want to experience and why. And nobody else can say anything else because it's like, that's their story. You can only write your own new story. And so where you saw yourself as a victim, you can now see yourself as the alchemist. You're like, you don't have any, like, person who victimized me, they don't have any power anymore because, like, you don't forgive people for them, you forgive people for yourself. And you get there when you get there. I'm not saying to forgive people or, like, you do that when you are ready. You have to feel the full spectrum of being a victim. You have to feel the grief and the rage and the unfairness. You have to feel all of that. And so I'll get to that in a second. But ultimately, you are not a victim because at a soul level, you wanted to experience all of these things so that you can help other people heal, for example. There's tons of reasons why you would go through terrible things to get here. And it's all related to karma, which is has been weaponized. It's not you do something bad, it's just a natural law of the universe. You do something, you experience the consequence of that. And then as a soul, we have incarnated so many times to experience all sides of karma. It's just kind of like dropping a basketball. Like when you drop a basketball, it's going to fall to the floor. It's not a bad or good thing that it falls to the floor. It does. And so any bad thing you do or whatever is you get to experience. So like you do a bad thing to someone, for example, and then the next life you are the person who gets that same bad thing done to them because you want to experience all of these things. And the thing about the darkness is, and like the abandonment and like, all the bad shit that we're seeing out there, this is again an exploration of the subconscious. And so you can't see something without a light shining on it, so it's like as more light hits this planet, as we become more enlightened, enlightenment is just more information, like the light codes come in. It's like as we're getting that, we're seeing how dark the shit is that we shoved under the rug, and it's like, well, we gotta fucking deal with it. And so holding space to, I feel like I'm maybe not answering these. I feel a little bit scattered, but so Jesus was killed, all the good things, why did nobody help him? Because nobody was supposed to help him in that point. Like they were with him, and this is my perspective, and you can agree with it or not, like totally. But like, my perspective is that Jesus was a walking avatar of Christ consciousness. Buddha was Christ. Like it's just a term. Jesus the Christ. It's not. So it's like Christ consciousness is like God consciousness basically, and he was here to kind of like really pierce through the veil of that darkness that's been on this planet for like eons and eons and eons. He was piercing the veil of like and bringing the light and all kinds of stuff, but he was never meant to. As he incarnated, he knew he wasn't gonna, at a soul level, he knew he wasn't gonna be around forever, and he was gonna be the example. And yes, they were gonna twist his messages and all kinds of shit, but eventually, now, literally, we are living in prophecy times right now. It's like that Christ consciousness is blooming in all of us. And no, it doesn't look great out in the world, but also think about where you're seeing these images of the world. And I'm not saying there's not war going on. I'm saying there are bad things going on, which is like how we're fleshing out this karma. Like, again, everybody picks the roles they need to pick to kind of do their soul growth. So yeah, bad shit is happening. But I kind of lost my train of thought. Fuck. Oh, well, did I? Anyway, the Christ consciousness is coming back. And as we clean up our own side of the street, as we write new stories for ourselves. Oh, yeah. Where are you getting these images about the world? So this is another reason to unplug from social media and from the news, the legacy news. Everything you see there is a story. It's a narrative. And it's not the whole story. So there are a ton of amazing things happening. A ton. And I mean shit like extinct animals are coming back. There are mushrooms that eat plastic and petroleum. There's fucking somebody, I think maybe in China, discovered how to like convert CO2 emissions to like something that's actual food for... So I don't know, just so many amazing things. And if you curate your algorithm, because everything is an algorithm, everything we're seeing, we are codes. Like, and that's how I see things. It's just, like I see coding and that kind of stuff. I don't even, sorry, all these thoughts are coming out of, but anyway, oh my gosh, I totally lost my fucking train of thought. Anyway, what the fuck was I saying? Okay, let me just read the thing. I used to believe in karma, but not when bad people keep constantly having good things. Yeah, I totally get it. Karma and like the whole thing about people getting what they want or whatever, when it's just like, everything is a mirror for you. basically. Like, I'm a mirror for you, you're a mirror for me, you know, like I need to hear some of these things because, like, for whatever reason, and sometimes I don't really know why I'm hearing these things or what the mirror is showing me yet, but I just know that, like, everything outside of me is showing me something I need to learn about myself. And so, you know, the part of me that's just like pissed off that people are still getting shit when they're doing bad things, you don't know anyone else's story or why they're here to get, why they're here as a mirror for you. Like, they're just to get you to focus on your own shit, focus on your own life, focus on what you can build, focus on curating your own algorithm to seeing the good things that are happening. And there are so many good things, but the media, the legacy media and the governments and the people in religious power, the finance guys, the military, all of that shit has a vested interest in keeping you feeling awful. There are beings who feed off of the fear and despair and the loosh that it's called loosh. We give them, it's like we're on a farm and we're feeding them our energy. Do you want to, and to get them out of here, to get the beings that feed off of this negative stuff, to get them out of here is to not give them negative attention or negative energies. And that's what I was saying with the mental construct, with the matrix. It's our own, once we deprogram from the matrix, which is like feeling miserable, feeling like our power is outside of us, that we have to listen to a government or whatever, feeling like we're not worthy of a good, beautiful, rich life, or that people are terrible, or Earth is a prison place. Like, all of those beliefs, they're mental constructs. And if you remove that code and write yourself a new story that life is amazing, Earth is amazing, great things are happening, the human collective is waking up, and yes, flushing out darkness, but like, we're fucking waking up and we're moving back into unity consciousness. And the future that I see is very, very golden. We are here to move to that's what's happening now. They're trying to keep us from ascending, from waking up, to like, they're trying to keep our consciousness low. So they're trying to start the wars. But if you see it, they're not doing a great job. There's not a whole lot of energy there. They're trying their hardest, but it's just simply not working out. But they can spin the narrative any way they want because they still have control over the media. It's a broadcast of a spell. They're casting it broadly. So don't listen. You're just taking in the programming. You are what your programming is. And so if you're taking in the programming of people like me, for example, who are saying all this amazing stuff is coming in the future, and I'm not saying to make me your authority. I just mean, like, who are you listening to when you're painting your picture and the stories of like the stuff that life is? And I have curated my algorithm to see this amazing stuff that's coming in and all the technological advancements. And I'm tuning into my own soul, who, again, the future self of me is telling me I'm building this school. Like for the longest time, I was like, Earth is stupid. Humanity is unsavable. Like, it's really awful, blah, blah, blah. And I thought there was no saving it. And I just wanted to check out. I really, like, there were years and years and years and years of time when I just wanted to yeet myself from the entire game because it was like not worth it. And now when I got quiet and I listened to my higher self and what I'm supposed to be doing and what I'm building out here, we are the change we've been looking for. No one is going to save us. We have to do it ourselves, which means working with people in these communities that we don't really necessarily want to build because, like, people suck, I know, but also get in alignment with yourself and you will draw in the people you are meant to work with. But it also does mean opening up to being with people and working with them. When you mentioned the good things like bringing extinct species back or the microorganisms that eat plastics also stem from social media. Oh, yeah, no. I'm not saying to unplug from social media entirely, but what I mean is it's like, it's a tool and you can use it to doom scroll, or you can use it for like enrichment and entertainment. And so, yeah, I get on there. Sometimes I doom scroll. Like I said, I'm not trying to paint myself as some perfect, like, whatever. I totally doom scroll because I'm just like, oh, but most of the time when I see myself, like, I can feel the saturation point. When I get on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, I'm like, okay, I'm loving reading all these things. And then at a certain point when I start to feel yucky, I'm like, oh, it is time to just stop. Because again, that's how we connect with our fellow humans, is social media. Like, we have the tools we have, you know, until we get better ones, as we build better ones, we're going to be doing some online stuff. Not being alive to see karma. Yeah, you can't prove what happens in other lives. So yeah, for the karma stuff, that's the thing I'm trying to talk about with like the linear time. For eons now, we've done multiple lifetimes to work through a karmic lesson. Now we're kind of moving very quickly into a state that's not karmic based. Like we've learned everything we could from consequence, action, like we're moving into something that's like totally fresh. And so again, I don't quite know exactly all the details of it. I just know that that involves writing our new stories, like not playing by the script. Like when, that's what I mean when like, during Mercury retrogrades and stuff, for example, like when all the fights are happening because miscommunication and like all this stuff, deprogramming yourself from the matrix, that mental construct of like, well, I'm just going to lash out and above. If you know it's Mercury retrograde, you can kind of just treat people with more compassion and yourself with more compassion because like, you're not taking it as personally. You're just like, oh, fuck, the energies. That's what's happening. I will give them some space to be like, explain themselves instead of like lashing out at them. And that's how we change from living in fear and fighting and like, even that stuff, like with the Mercury retrograde stuff and people are fighting and like all this stuff, if you keep feeding that, you are feeding a warlike mentality because you have to fight and you have to prove yourself and whatever. If you back off from that and you're just like, it may hurt a little bit because they're being an asshole and I really want to like, so it may hurt to not, but like you come back to yourself and realize they don't matter. Who knows what they're going through, whatever. Allow yourself to come back to center and be in peace and, breaking the narratives from there. And when you meet people with love, that breaks everything. True love is just like, and by true love, I mean like God conscious, like source. It's like pure source love for your fellow beings and creatures. And when you meet them in that frequency, because you've met yourself in that frequency, that changes the world. So it's really easy to like look at other people and be like, everyone else is being shitty. Look at yourself first. Just look at yourself. It's all I'm saying. And again, when it's possible, do this. I can't do this all of the time. I'm up here, like, I'm on a good day. Well, I say it's a good day. I was totally pissed off all day. I'm like, this is not a good day. But like, you're still seeing me on a day when I'm not like collapsed in the couch in an emotional low, crying my eyes out, screaming my throat raw, like everything sucks. But you're not seeing me like that. You are seeing me like semi put together, like putting up here, like, listen, let me give you some good heartfelt messages. We're going to meet at the Midnight Diner for coffee and pie, and we're going to chill and celebrate some wins. And I will read this one last thing before I do like one more dragon. I'll do a dragon card, and then I'm going to like close it up yet a little bit. But I'll say too, I see a lot of people speaking ill of the bad in this world while focusing only on the good. But the issue is people focus on the good so much they are able to manipulate it to where it's more negative than straightforward evil. Like the people who seek love, but only when it benefits them, so they can use love to mess with people's humanity, to hurt them later in a way that doesn't benefit everyone but themselves. Yeah, there's a lot of shit out there. And manipulation is one of my core wounds. Oh boy. So I totally get that. But again, I don't know how to, they're playing out a karmic story, and maybe they're manipulating people for that person who's being manipulated to see that they're being manipulated and take back their power. You never know why people are playing these roles for other people. So that's why it's kind of like, watch it as like a channel on a TV, as like, okay, that's happening. I'm not going to attach whether it's good or bad or whatever. It's just like when you accept what is instead of being mad and like trying to fight what is, it's like, okay, I don't have to agree with something to accept that it exists. I can accept it and be like, this fucking sucks, but it is. So I'm just going to, what can we do to change it? And if there's nothing you can do, because you can't do something about other people. I mean, you can stand up for people and like, because we got to step in sometimes and be like, listen, but you also can't rescue everyone. Like they need to go through the things they need to go through to learn the things they came here to learn. And so one of the things that has been through manipulation. I have been manipulated Like that's why it's a core wound for a reason. And and then it was, but once I saw that I don't have to be manipulated anymore, it's like I took back my own power, and that person or those people or who, whatever, they don't have power over me. So again, a lot of this stuff that we go through, the bad stuff or bad looking stuff, it creates this soul growth for us that we just never, our human selves can't always comprehend that, because it's more at a soul level that we're doing this long-term planning shit. And again, we wanted to experience bad feelings, like the deep, dense, dark feel, like we wanted to experience that. It's like, as a soul, you don't really, it's very visceral to feel in a human body, like on the 3D plane, in the like where there's matter in 3D, it's like everything is just like heightened. And so as a soul, it's kind of like reading a book about emotions, like jealousy or pain or suffering. It's like you're reading about it and you kind of like understand it, but it's like, what would it be like to feel that? So sometimes souls incarnate to feel the pain because it's interesting to a soul. It sucks for our human selves. It really fucking sucks. But again, you don't know why people are going through what they're going through, because their soul has chosen their path. Anyway, I have kind of talked a lot about that. Speaking of coming full circle, I'm like, I feel like we're in a moment where things are coming full circle. And I've been talking, what is this, Sirius and the present? Yeah, it's very interesting. So there's a lot of Sirius star family energy with us right now. Like I have a Sirius soul aspect. A lot of people come from Sirius. Like it's very, it's not uncommon to get Sirius energy, especially around this time. But like this is sort of like a 2025, and I made videos about this on my TikTok. It's like 2025 is the year everything changes. And I'm not the only person saying that. It's like, this is the start of something incredibly new, but it's hard to see it when you're in the middle of it. And so this is the moment we're kind of coming full circle to, again, like kind of back to Atlantis times, where like we fell from group consciousness. Now is the time we're rising back up into group consciousness. And so it's like this mirror point where like you are part of source, you kind of collapse and you get bored of being in source where like everything is perfect, everything's easy, whatever. It's like, we're going to have our own experience. I want my individual, I want limitation. I want to like learn how to do all these cool things. Myself is very Aries energy. Like I want to do the things for myself. And so it's like, I want to come down here and experience jealousy. I want to come down here. And by down here, I just mean into the 3D, down here to experience, all this kind of stuff that I like read about in books or whatever as a soul. Like I understand it as a soul, but I don't know what it's like to feel it. And so we're like AI coming online, and you know what I mean? It's like we don't understand sometimes what it actually means to feel things. So we like create these programs like holosuites in Star Trek to like feel some of this stuff. And so it's very real because every experience we have as a soul is real, but also there are just multiple perspectives of like, what is going on here. So anyway, coming full circle, I don't know. We're gonna draw a quick dragon card because I always have like really nice energy to kind of close out. Got Diana Cooper's Dragon Oracle. And we'll just kind of see. I cannot believe I've been talking for 2 hours and 20 minutes. 2.5 hours. Oh my God. Okay. 13th card. Oh, well. Fire. Fire dragon. Burns up the lower energies around you. You are safe and protected. Be determined and expired. Inspire. Clear your soul pathway. Okay, I fucking love the fire dragons. Also, it's nice because it's like, it's the card that's on the cover. And we're kind of getting a lot of fiery energy. Like Neptune and Saturn moving into Aries is fucking fire ass energy, And Aries is the most primal of that fire, of those fire elements. It's like the first sign of the zodiac. It's like the time. It's like the moment you split away from source. It's like the fall of group consciousness. Like your individual, things. It's very individual, and it's also very like we're in a very cleansing time period. Like stuff is getting burned away at record pace. Like, and that's part of what you're seeing out in the world. Like all the bad stuff. It's like the beings who want to stay in that negative space, in those mental constructs of the inverted matrix, they're fighting tooth and nail, but there's no way to fight the tide of a dragon. We are the dragons, okay? We are the dragons here to be like, listen, no more of this shit. We're moving on to a different energy, and we're cleansing this world through fire. And so a lot of this stuff, there is some stuff that needs to be burned down, physically, metaphorically, whatever. But also, it's a very quiet, like we're stoking our own inner fire to get the shit done that we want to get done. Like, that's why this Capricorn full moon a couple days ago just felt so, it was hard. And I think on purpose, to be like, what are you still going to show up for? Even roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. What are you committed to? Where is you need a good foundation, like building from there. And so this is the time period. This is a very cleansing time period where like things around you that are, or things in you or whatever, pieces of your life that are around you that aren't serving your highest good are getting burned away. And it's scary and it's painful because we get attached to those identities. It's like if you go through a breakup or something, you're just like, well, who am I without this person or without this family or, without this house or this job or, anything being taken away from you is to show you that was a distraction. Focus on your own kind of thing. So your inner fire is being fucking lit because Chiron is in Aries. Chiron is the wounded healer, and it's showing us our original abandonment wounds. It's like, where have you abandoned yourself for fear of being abandoned by the other? And I think that's why I've been expressing so much rage and anger lately, is because I've had to swallow a lot of it to kind of fit into someone else's expectation of who I should be. And my Aries energy is like, actually, bitch, I am myself. And so I need to get fired up about a lot of these things, because otherwise I wouldn't do anything. I got a lot of water in my chart, and I would rather just be like, oh, somebody take care of it. I don't want to conflict. No, I gotta stand up for myself. I gotta do my own thing. I gotta be committed to this mystery school, this earth school, like everything that I'm doing. I want to do it with a passion and like a craftsmanship that people can actually learn from and like become more healed and more prosperous versions of themselves. And so I tried to keep up on the chat as best I could. I know I probably missed a couple of messages or whatever, but also I hope I answered your questions in satisfying ways. And if not, I will be back probably in a couple of weeks. I'm assuming, because again, every couple of weeks I'm guided to do another one. This last time I had 3 weeks out, but like, so if you have more questions, you're welcome to follow me on, like, I don't really read my Instagram messages. Sometimes I read my TikTok ones. I'm Dread Pirate KK everywhere, but like I'm most active on TikTok and Instagram. Anyway, so you're welcome to like reach out if you want, or like come to other streams, or I don't know, whatever. So I don't know if I answered everything, but like at a certain point, I just kind of like, I don't know if I don't even know if I'm making sense anymore. I'm like, am I saying the same thing? Have I answered everything? Whatever. But I do appreciate everybody for coming. That was really, really lovely to have you here. And I know some of it was like kind of dark and heavy, and that's okay. Like that's what we do at the Midnight Diner. We're here to celebrate wins. Like we want to come here to take a break from like, there's so much shit going on, and here it's like we're doing a party. We got the coffee, the pie. Like next time I need to actually bring coffee or pie or something. But I'm always like talking, so I like don't. It's hard for me to like eat and work or whatever. But speaking of, I should probably have some more water. But like basically, and yeah, it's not just a fun time. Like I think it's important to have a fun time, but it's also a place to have, a space for questions where it's like, everything feels bad. What do you mean? Why are you so optimistic? Like, all I see is bad stuff in the world. And it's like, that totally, man, that is why they're trying to keep you focused on all the bad shit. And there's plenty of it. And I totally get it. But also there's so many good things, to talk about. And so if I can help break any mental patterns, if I can help you come into your King of Swords energy, I would love, that'd be an honor, like I hope I've said something that helps you chew on things, that helps you kind of make your inner fire come out and be like, listen, yeah, I'm gonna fucking write a new story for myself. And this is kind of like a longer term thing. You don't move through this shit overnight. Like we all want to heal in 5 minutes or whatever. I know I did when I first started. I was like, why the fuck am I still on this healing journey? And it's been 5 fucking years, or like whatever, it's been like longer, but and it's not going to take as long as it probably took me, for example, because a lot of these energies are they're coming in hot and fast, like these fiery air, light codes, like everything coming in. It's like really really supportive energies for breaking the patterns and creating new stories for ourselves. But it's a lot. And it just takes, like, I'm 45 years old. You don't just dump 45 years of karma and trauma and shit like overnight. You just kind of, it takes the time it takes and you move through it. But we are in a period of time astrologically where we're being asked to be, we're being shown where we're still holding on to like victim mentality, self-victimization, perfectionism, self-criticism, all kinds of things, delusions, like where are we kind of, avoiding reality when we could be like facing it, that kind of thing, and not running from it anymore. But 2025 is a year that's like, I heard another channel, she was like, it's going to be 10 years of growth in 1 year. And I'm like, I'm feeling that. I was feeling that like back in January almost. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. So it's a big year this year. And it's the shift. Like when we look back historically, we're going to look at 2025 and be like, that's the year. That's the year shit really started to change. And so the revolution is here. The Renaissance is here, like the golden age is, but it's like, we have to clean up first. I am on team trash. I say this every time I'm on a stream. I'm just like, I'm a trash goddess. Like energetically, client sessions, going to the underworld to drop off the old stories, the old patterns, like anything about you that's dying. If you're having dreams about like dead, like if you are dying or somebody you know is dying, or like if there's a dead baby, or like if there's any kind of nightmare with like dead something or like whatever, that's a version of you that is dying. And it's a version of you that needs to die so that it can be fertilizer for the new growth, the new stories, the new you. Life is a constant cycle of death and rebirth. And we're in a really messy death rebirth process right now. And a lot of the contraction and the squeeze we're feeling is just like, it's part of the birthing process. And birth is messy. It's got a lot of blood. It's got a lot of pain. And you're like, and it doesn't, we're not going to feel this way forever. But like I said, the future is we're on the Star Trek future, but we're in the through part of the only way out is through. And it's messy. It's Mad Maxy. It's like insane. And if you know the Star Trek lore, you know that like Earth was pretty Mad Maxy before we got to Star Trek. We're just in that Mad Maxy period. So it's fine. Like you are safe, but also it doesn't feel that way a lot of times. And so I'm not trying to gaslight you or bypass any of these feelings. Because again, like I said, you're seeing me. You're seeing me when I'm like put together and not just like mentally unstable. You're just like not in the mood to deal with fucking anyone. But yeah, I hope you come back to the Midnight Diner in the next episode. I don't know when it will be. I'm assuming it's in 2 weeks. I have no idea. July is an explosive ass month. Like there's a lot of, and we're not done with July. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's going to be a lot, but like I said, this is the haven of the Midnight Diner where so I encourage you to take some time today and just sit there with like, get a treat or like even a glass of water. Like I love water. So it's like, is water a treat? I don't know, but water is very grounding. It's cleansing. Like we need a lot of it for our own electricity, like that kind of thing. So if you don't have money or whatever for a treat or blah, blah, but do your best to get something really nice for yourself today. Like something you like to eat or like to drink, or, sit with your favorite rock or whatever it is. Do something that makes you feel good, and then sit there and think about a win that you've had. And I know you've had them. Like that's one of the things about the Midnight Diner. It's like we're so focused on like everything that's bad about us, or we're told all these terrible things or whatever. It's like, yeah, again, not bypassing any of that stuff, but also look at how awesome you are. Look at the ways in which you have things that you wanted, that you have things that you've always wanted, in that way, and celebrate the fact that you're still here and that you're not giving up on stuff. Like even if you feel like I give up all the time on things and people. I'm just like, oh my God, I'm fucking over this shit. I say I'm over it like a million times a day. I'm like, this is stupid. I don't even want to be here anymore. Go fuck yourself. Like I have so many, but like also, I do take a lot of time throughout the day to just be like, I am grateful for, and if you can't be grateful, because a lot of times I can't be grateful. If somebody tells me to be grateful or have gratitude for something, I'm just like, do you want to die painfully or quickly? That's your, so if I can't feel gratitude, I can feel like, I don't know, like a curiosity about things. It's like, I'm okay. Like with this, like it's cool that I have this thing, or like I'm open to being grateful at some point, but right now, oh, oops, as I almost knocked my computer over. I made it a little. I talk with my hands a little bit. So anyway, if you can't be grateful, that's okay. Just be like, I'm feeling my feelings right now. And then when you can have gratitude, then you can have gratitude. And the more you have it, the wider that channel gets and the more things that you actually want kind of come through. But to be fair, we've also had this very massive holding-ish pattern. Since like 2020, we had this crazy 4 year, I don't know what the fuck even that was. We had to go really deep in the spiral instead of kind of like moving forward with stuff. And so a lot of the things that we've been asking for the past however many years, and they haven't come through yet, it's like, well, I guess I'm not going to get what I want, or like, I guess I have to give up on that, or like nothing good ever happens, or like, you know, whatever. And those are coming in now. Like the things that we have given up on, it's like they're coming now. They might not come in the way you expect, okay? like I said with the promo and the stream that I was trying to film, the promo for the stream I was trying to film, I was like, I thought it was going to go one way. It did not. and the growth that I have had this year, my 10 years of growth in one kind of thing so far this year, it came with a lot of conflict, man. Like I was not comfortable most of the time. And I've had a lot of peace and contentment, in amongst all of this shit, but it has been tumultuous. And the year of the snake, like we're shedding skin, like, you know, and it needs friction to shed the skin. So there's a lot of stuff that's kind of, we're not in peaceful times right now. It's like we're in a lot of craziness, but also the revolution is rest and creating art and living in joy and not feeling guilty for living in joy when other people aren't, you know, because that's also like a survivor's guilt kind of thing. It's like, it's hard. But again, come back to the Midnight Diner. We're going to do our best to like focus on a lot of the good things that we're seeing and not bypassing the stuff that we need to sit with in the grief and stuff. But like, we're just in a messy time period. And so next time, come on over, we'll get some coffee and pie and I'll jabber about whatever it is I'm going to be jabbering about. Who knows? I was like, today when I came here, I was like, I'm not going to have anything to say. I'm like, this is going to be a half-hour stream. And it's like 3 hours later. I kind of love it. I'm like, oh, I love talking. And I can probably keep talking, but like, I also just am like, I should probably give these people a break. But yeah, if you have more questions, I would love to see you again. Thank you for coming. To the people that did, I appreciated you and I love having your energy. And I hope to see you again. And for anyone watching on the replay, I love you and you're doing a great job. And we'll bring in our little dragon to give you some more cozy, yummy hugs. And the fire dragons are with us, you know, helping clear out shit that we don't need anymore. Destroy the things that are causing us pain. So anyway, I love you. You are amazing. You are a multidimensional soul having a human experience, and it is very confusing and it's awkward and awful sometimes, but it's ultimately a beautiful, joyful thing. And I'm happy to be on this earth with you and excited to like share with each other our experiences. And yeah, I hope to see you again, and big hugs and lots of love.